Hello, good evening. It's Friday. My name is Richard. This is over and over and over again the Arsenal podcast. This is a very special show tonight. It's a preview, actually, of the final game of the season against Everton, of course, on Sunday. I've got a very special guest joining me, someone who I'm sure is very happy and very relieved after last night's result for Everton, of course, when they beat Crystal Palace to secure their place in the Premier League, which we will talk about as well. Lots to come the other side of this. So joining me, as you can see, it's Paul, or Rez, as his name is on the screen there, Everton fan, of course. I'm sure you are feeling very happy and relieved after last night.
Yeah, very much so. Didn't want to go into Sunday's game needing anything, that's a fact.
Well, we didn't need you to come into Sunday's game needing anything either, so that's kind of good for both of us, really, isn't it? I mean, just before we kind of get into it all, just maybe give us a little kind of sort of history of, why Everton for you. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so you can tell by the accent, I'm not a Scouser, but I'm from Manchester, so I'm a really rare breed from Manchester. But my dad's a Scouser, Evertonian, so naturally followed that path. I'm actually fourth generation blue. Yeah, I don't know, properly started going seeing Everton when I could drive because we moved south in 81. So saw them sporadically. I got all the glory years. I got the cup finals and that, but very, very few league games. When I started driving, that's when 89, 90, that's when I started to go on my own. Against Arsenal, I've not seen them win very much, though, to be fair.
No, well, it hasn't been a very good ground for you guys over the years. We'll maybe talk about that a bit later, actually, when we look at the game. I mean, we can't really start anywhere else other than last night, really. I mean, at half time, did you think that was it? Did you think you were down, or did you still have hope that you might get the result? Because you've had a few comebacks, haven't you, in recent weeks, but that was something else last night, wasn't it?
Typical doing things the Everton way, the hard way. Yeah, absolutely. We've had these false dawns. Great result against Chelsea, and honestly, at that result, I'd actually rationalise relegation when we lost to Burnley. I thought that was it. We'd thrown it away. We'd lost to Burnley, and that was it. But as I say, they then go and beat Chelsea, get a couple of other half-decent results. They beat Leicester away. They getting the points on the board. Beat Watford. That's it. That's all you have to do. Don't beat Watford. But they get a point. So, okay, it's 2 home games. We got Brentford and we got Palace. We should beat Brentford, right? Come on. We didn't. So, yeah, all in against Palace. As I say, I'm not a season ticket holder these days, and they are like sparrow's teeth, getting tickets to home games and away games. But, yeah, managed to secure one very, very late. Well, 2. One for me, one for my lad. We just felt we had to be there, so we got up there, stayed over the night before, but we got to the ground really early to soak up this atmosphere that the fans have been generating. So Evertonians are a great breed, but I think there was a story. Ben Foster released a story earlier in the year about opposing players going to Goodison. They know that the first stray pass, the Everton crowd are going to get on the back. And there's been kind of a seismic shift in the support this year, and they've changed the mentality. In recent weeks, they've changed it massively, but they've changed it quite a lot over this season. So, big up to those Evertonian fans that have actually done that. So we got there early last night. We were there from like 4 o'clock, lining the streets with the rest of them. I think I've inhaled more smoke since I gave up smoking. Honestly, the blue flares, enough blue flares, lads. Crikey. It was great. Got into the ground and it was rocking. I've never seen Goodison like that. And I've seen some big games over the years, but that was amazing last night. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it did look incredible, the atmosphere. I mean, at half-time, though, 2-0 down, and, it was looking, I mean, it wouldn't have put you down a defeat. Like you said, you would have needed something against us on Sunday had you lost, but you must have been feeling, that must have been a horrible feeling at half-time when the second goal went in, really.
Yeah, exactly that. I knew I was hemmed in the car park, so I couldn't leave. And my lad would not have let me go anyway. There's no way he would never have let me leave that early. But yeah, honestly, the second goal went in. I think not too long before AU scored the second goal had gone in and had scissors challenged on, and I was in the park end, and from where I was stood, it was a stonewall red card. Didn't happen. So we were still furious about that. And I was actually turning around to my lad to say, that's what we need now, to a tackle like that, get the crowd back up, because we'd gone a bit flat, and get behind. Like I say, a few minutes later, he romped in, they romped down the left-hand side, and he pops up and it's 2-0, and that was it, yeah. Immediate reaction was, this is Wimbledon all over again.
Yeah, that's what I thought, actually, funnily enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the instant reaction. I said, my lad doesn't know, but I said, it's Wimbledon all over again, and that's what we've got to do. We did. I don't know. I mean, I was down. I did think about going, not that I'd have been allowed to. I just couldn't see, from anything that we'd done in the first half, I couldn't see us scoring 3 goals. But equally, and I guess it's the things fans do, isn't it? You cling to that. You get one, you can get a second, and then anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what happened in the end. I mean, I think that goal early in the second half was quite crucial, wasn't it? Because you could see after half time the fans were a bit more up for it. The team came out, obviously, whatever Frank had said at half time, and I think that early goal, and you could see a shift in the game. Then, couldn't you? Crystal Palace kind of went down a little bit. And you can kind of see Everton on the up. And I actually felt, as soon as the first goal went in, that Everton could probably win that game. And I thought, my first thought was, I remember the Wimbledon game from, what was it, 94, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Almost the same situation. And it was just so weird how that played out, wasn't it?
There were so many parallels from the game last night and that Wimbledon game. So, in the Wimbledon game, same end, Gary Ablett, kind of like mistake, goal. Same last night with mistake for the goal. Lots of parallels. A pretty decent goal. I mean, Keane's goal, he's had a hard few seasons at Everton. Came with a big price tag, with a lot of other players. He's been very up and down, and unfortunately more down than up. And he has been a bit of a whipping boy for the fans. But he plucked that ball out the air last night and poked it in with his left peg. It was a cracking finish. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Only watched it back earlier on this afternoon, actually. All the goals back this afternoon. And yeah, I think, as you say, the crowd then just got up again, and it kind of grew. You could feel it swelling in the stadium. It's not often, all of the urchins go behind in the Gladys Street, and that's where the noise generates in most games. But the park end was up, the Bullens Road was up, the main stand was up, everyone was up. It just swelled and swelled, and it kept going. And then the equaliser came in, and from that point in, it just felt, like you say, Palace wilted, and Everton just grew and grew into the game. But I guess what happened at half time was that they changed the midfield, and they changed the way they were defending very deep, considering they were at home and they needed to win the game. And another boo boy, unfortunately, Gomez did not have a good performance in the first half. And most people talking at half time, that's why they started Gomez. You want players with heart. You don't want Gomez because he's not got it. And unfortunately, that's a little bit true. For me, he's more of an impact player off the bench. But anyway, Dele Alli came on, who has been awful. You'll be pleased to know, Arsenal fans, he's been awful at Everton since joining from Tottenham.
Yeah.
But if he could do that every week, the world's his oyster. He controlled the game. Everything was going on 100 miles an hour around him, but he got the ball and it slowed down. And he pulled the strings. He played the passes. Everything good we did came through him.
Yeah, I mean,
when that third one went in, I've never heard a noise like it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some videos today on YouTube and stuff of like fans that were there recording it and stuff. It's just amazing to me, as a football fan. And yes, it's not my club, and I don't have any particular strong feelings for Everton either way, to be honest. But when you see stuff like that, fans in the stadium just enjoying a moment like that, that's so important. we've all, whatever club you support, we've all felt that, and that's what we go to football for. Ultimately, all of us, we go to experience those moments. Whether it's to save from relegation, whether it's to win the league, whether it's to get promotion, cup final, semi-final, all them important goals, and that's what you live for. That's what you go to football for. And I love it when I see other fans enjoying those moments. Yes, if it's against Arsenal, I don't particularly, but if Arsenal aren't involved, I quite enjoy watching other fans enjoy those moments because one, they're quite rare overall, and secondly, it's what we go for. And I actually really enjoyed that, I didn't really care who won. It maybe, if anything, I've got a little bit more of a soft spot for Crystal Palace at the moment because of their manager.
Of course, yeah.
But ultimately, seeing those scenes and seeing, those videos today of the fans and stuff, that's what we go football for, isn't it? And it was an amazing moment. And, it's strange, isn't it, like you said, because it happened to Everton all those years ago and it's happened again, almost exactly the same. And it's just strange how history does have a habit of repeating itself in football, isn't it? Sometimes.
Exactly that. The history repeating itself thing, and hopefully it won't be repeated again. Because we had it a couple of years later when we had to do it again against Coventry. So hopefully this will be a line drawn under it. But there's a lot of work to be done with our club for sure. But yeah, it was a great night and one for the fans. I think Lampard in his post match interview, he kind of summed it up really well. The fans have done what they've done and they've dragged the club, and they have. Yeah. They dragged them to where they got to, but last night it was about the players in that second half. Yeah, the fans played their part, of course they did. The greeting of the boss is something I'll never forget, and it's not something Everton fans, as I said to you before, have really kind of embraced. But in this kind of particular period in time, they've embraced it, and they've kind of made it their own bit as well. There've been some pictures that I've seen that have been unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have as well. As I say, and I enjoy seeing stuff like that because we're all football fans, and it's just they're great moments, aren't they? And that stuff that, like you said, you remember forever, don't you? You will do, and it's great that you've experienced that. Really, you'd like to experience it more at the other end of the table, something achieving, but ultimately that was so important last night for Everton.
It's almost like
a club like Everton can't really go down, can they, from the Premier League? It wouldn't seem right, would it?
No, not at all. I mean, I think you've got the longest run. We've got the most seasons. We've only ever had four seasons in our entire history outside the top flight. So I think, what was it, 65 years or something like that, since we were last in the first division, or second division, sorry, as it was then. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It would have been. I mean, I know loads of people wanted to see Everton go down. They wanted to see that big club. Everyone loves a big club. I enjoyed watching Villa and Newcastle going down. So I get it. People really wanted to see us go, probably. Tough.
No, exactly. I mean, in the day, Everton are one of the biggest clubs in English football. There's no doubt about that. They're up there with the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United. They're in that kind of bracket. They're not quite as successful in terms of trophies necessarily, but in terms of size of the club, I think they are. And it would have been a big wake-up call, I think, for a lot of clubs. I mean, Leeds have been relegated, as we know. They could be relegated again, and they struggled to come back. And there's a lot of historic clubs and now in the Championship haven't been able to get out. Some have gone even further down. Sunderland, for an example, And these are, and it's kind of a wake up call, I think, for some of the bigger clubs. So it's almost like, as an Arsenal fan, I almost take it for granted that we'll never ever be relegated ever, because we haven't been for such a long time. But ultimately, when you see what's happened to Everton and other clubs in the past, it does make you think, actually, you know what? We're only one or two bad decisions at a club away from being in a similar position. I mean, where do you think it's gone wrong at Everton? Because, it's been a very up and down period, hasn't it? Because, you've had a lot of, funnily enough, Arteta took over at Arsenal the same time Ancelotti took over at Everton. And you've had three managers in that period, and we're still with Arteta. I mean, what's going on with Everton? Because, it's been a crazy few years, hasn't it?
Well, first and foremost, you can probably see why Arsenal never really wanted to have Moshiri on the board. Let's put it that way. He seems to want to dabble a little bit too much. Now, there's that undercurrent about whether or not the bankrolling is actually Usmanov, and of course, the war in the Ukraine has put pay to all of that. They've spent badly, personally, and I know a lot of Everton fans think this way, that he's been advised poorly by this super agent, Joachim, whatever his name is, Kia Joachim or whatever, Portuguese super agent.
Yeah.
He's been advised by him, apparently, which kind of undermined the director of football that he'd employed at the club. So recruitment was poor. We had the director of football, Steve Walsh. He came in, and I'll be honest, that first year, I think we spent 125 million quid. And I was bullish. I thought, yeah, this is great. We've gone from buying at the corner shop to buying in Harrods. They didn't quite turn out that way. We think we bought about 4 number 10s that summer. So, not enough in defence. So recruitment has been poor, really poor. There've been a couple of gems in there. Despite what people have laughed and joked about, the money that we're paying for Iwobi, he's kept us up. He's been superb since Frank Lampard. He's a different footballer. He was all right when he first signed, and then he just went away. But under Lampard, he's been fantastic. Pickford, don't believe the hype that you see on Sky Sports. It's been brilliant for Everton for 2 seasons, and that England form that they always refer about, he's been playing well for Everton as well. And I think, again, talking about these seismic shifts there was a real change. The double save he made against Chelsea a few weeks ago that, effectively won us that game. He's been performing not at that level, but, close to that level for a while. So, Pickford's a good signing. But ultimately, that's where they've got it wrong. They didn't replace Lukaku when they needed to replace him. Recruited badly in other areas. Lost John Stones, as I said. Michael Keane came in, but he's never reached the heights, and that's what it boils down to. £500 million. Well, you know what? It up the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously for clubs to be successful or not, it is recruitment, isn't it? At the end of the day, good players make good teams. Yes, you need a good manager, you need other things in place, but ultimately, if you've got enough good players, you're going to win a lot of games of football, and you're going to have success, aren't you? Probably that's sort of how it works. And I think Arsenal have had a similar problem. I think our recruitment hasn't been great. We can't really complain after the season that you guys have had. I can't complain about our season, even though it's not gone as we may have hoped. We've got a few comments in the chat already. Steven says, "Hi guys, how are you? Everything good? I hope." Well, I think Paul's slightly more happy than me tonight after the week that we've had. Russ as well says, "Hi, Les, hope you well." Yeah, so we're not doing too bad. Russ says, "I think Everton will win on Sunday. We're on our knees." Yeah, we will talk about that very soon. I kind of tend to agree with you a little bit, actually. Going for Life says, "Evening, Rich and Rez. Will Everton and Norwich do Arsenal a huge favour on Sunday? I heard Tottenham pre-match meal will be lasagna." Well, we need some sort of miracle, don't we, at Norwich? Let's be honest. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Stephen said, "I'm not that positive about Arsenal getting a win. That's how bad we've been. About 9 of our players are playing with knocks." Yeah, we've got a small squad and a few injuries. Paul says, "Well, Everton have always had a big soft spot for Arsenal for a certain Michael Thomas-shaped reason." Yeah, I'm sure you have.
I was going to mention it. 99% of Evertonians, Arsenal will be the second favourite team after that because of 89. Sorry, Liverpool fans, but it's true.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, that was obviously one of the greatest nights of our history. You said obviously the night you had last night was fantastic, and that night for us was a night that we'll never forget either. Stephen says, "Everyone seems to watch the same shows you do." That's good to have you on board with us. Where are we up to now? There's been quite a few comments actually. Where are we? We've had that one there. Russ says, "We seem to win and lose in threes." Yeah, we do actually. This is the third game of a losing streak. Well, it might be. Yeah, we've lost our last 2, of course. But anyway, we'll see. And Russ says, "Thanks for giving us 40 million for Iwobi."
As I've just said, you're welcome.
Yeah. He's doing all right in a minute, so maybe that's not such a bad deal for Everton now as it looked at the time. Stephen says, "I never thought Everton would be relegated. The team is more than good enough to stay up. They've just been massively underperforming. They've needed a kick up the arse." And Dele Alli, why are they getting? Well, we just said Dele Alli had a good game last night. So, the big players turn up in big games, don't they, sometimes? And they might not do a lot sometimes. And then a big game, they perform. And that's basically maybe what happened.
That's it. I mean, when needed, big time player. As I say, he was able to slow the game around him last night. It was nice to see that because it's been a while to have a player like that at Everton that could do it. I mean, James Rodriguez was master at it, but we never got to see him in the flesh. So yeah, I kind of do agree. It was an odd signing, especially as it wasn't perhaps what we needed, but he's there.
Well, he done the job he needed to do, which was get you the win last night, wasn't it? I suppose, and that's what kept you in the league, which is what it was all about. I mean, I want to talk to you really about Frank Lampard, because he's had a very mixed managerial career, and now he's been embroiled in this relegation battle. Not all of his fault, of course. He came in, the problem's already there, and he's done the job.
Yeah,
he made a Frank Lampard since he's been there, because it does seem as though the players are playing for him. I've got to say that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think it was a case of anyone but Benitez, really. It was. So we'll start with the Benitez appointment, a very, very odd one. I don't think you'll find an Everton fan that wanted him as manager. It then starts a split with the fan base, which was those that did not want him there, full stop. There were those that he's there now, so we've got to give him a chance. We've got to give him the support. And I'll hold my hands up. I was probably the latter. I didn't want him, but he was there, so I'd give him the support. Was there for the game against Southampton, and much like last night's game, absolutely diabolical in the first game. First half of the first game, 1-0 down. Don't know what he did or what he said. Half time, he came out and he romped it 3-1. And then went away to Brighton. And the benchmark for me is, so we won that game 2-0. It was, until Leicester, the only away game that we'd won back in August. And the benchmark for me is always when you can hear opposition fans talking about your team. And the Brighton fans were sort of saying things like, they got 3 racehorses up front. We could never cope with that kind of strength and power. And it was nice to hear that. And I thought to myself, Benitez has got a small squad, but it's balanced and it's doing all right. He's taking up where Ancelotti left off, and this might not be as bad. However, that was quite short-lived. We lost to QPR. Okay, it was on penalties, but the performance was diabolical in the League Cup. And from that point onwards, that was my moment that I thought, I was right all along. I shouldn't support him. The rest we kind of know. He won, I think it was 1 more in 14, something like that. It was poor. Yeah. So really, Lampard coming in, it was anyone but Benitez. He would get the time, which is what Benitez wouldn't get. Everton fans were probably always waiting for that first defeat, and that was it. But that's that. What do I think of him? It was my first choice out of all of the names being linked. I wasn't overly enamoured with any of them that were being linked. I think Nat Pereira went on Sky Sports and gave an interview before he'd actually been offered the job. I think there was quite a groundswell for within the Everton fan base for him, but there was also for Lampard, and I was in that camp. I actually thought he wasn't too bad at Chelsea. He did well under the kind of circumstances to get them into the Champions League. And the second season, I'm not sure all those players were his. I don't know. I'm just going off what Chelsea fans, friends of mine, have said. The players that they brought in, not sure they were his players. It started off okay for him that second season, and then dived. And they lost to us, Duncan Ferguson. They lost to us, and God knows which manager would replace at that point. But I think it was Silva. Lost to us, and he was sacked the following game. I remember over the summer last year when we'd lost Ancelotti and Palace was sniffing around for manager. Lampard was being kind of mooted more in the Palace space than in the Everton space. But
yeah,
I can remember thinking, he's a young manager and he can identify with the players. He's not long finished playing himself. The young players that we got at the club, that might not be a bad appointment. And he's got some good contacts in the game, that kind of thing. So fast forward to 6 months, in he comes. Pleased he got the job, especially like I say over the names that were being linked. I've been impressed with him, working with what he's had to work with and under the kind of pressure that he's had to work. Because as I sort of alluded to before, the Everton fan base, seismic shift, we're quite, we can be quite obnoxious to our own team at home when it's not going our way. And he kind of, Everton's a great club, as you've alluded to, and it is. And the fan base are a very proud fan base.
Mm.
And what he learned quickly was to understand how we ticked and what it is that we wanted to see on the pitch. And he tried to do that with the tools, the players that were available to him. It didn't always work, but the fans recognised that. And it was like a relationship developed quite quickly. And that was the key for him, in my opinion. He won the fans over, he got the backing, and then he started to kind of really push on what it was that he wanted out of his players. Now, as I've sort of said, they're not good enough. Most of them are not good enough. But they tried, and that is, first and foremost, as an Evertonian, that is what you want from your players on the pitch. 100% every time. Doesn't matter, you know, I said before jokingly that the first straight pass you get booed. It's not quite the case, but we'll accept a straight pass. We'll accept one going into Rezon, but just give it your all. And that's what he demanded of them straight away. So, yeah, long term, the summer's going to be interesting. You know, we've got a lot of players who are out of contract, a lot of players who will be leaving the club, a lot of players entering the last year, so potentially they could be leaving the club as well. I mean, you know, there's a core group of players out there that you'd like to keep. I'm not sure we'll be able to keep all of them, especially given this financial fair play racket that seems to be ramping up a little bit even today. So we might have to sell a couple of the crown jewels in order to buy. So it'd be interesting. And I do think it'd be all right. I'm not talking qualifying for Europe next season or anything like that. But I think if they can give him, and this is another thing that Moshiri hasn't allowed, stability and longevity at the club, so he can build it in his own, you know, shape, then I think he might do all right.
Yeah,
but is
I mean,
all right enough for Evertonians?
well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, Stephen's in the chat says, I think Lampard will do all right next season. I'm not saying he's the best manager for Everton, but I think he'll build a decent team. The one he built at Chelsea won the Champions League. What he did after he's gone, although, as we said before, were all the players he wanted, who don't know. But ultimately, they did win the Champions League, didn't they, after he went. Robertson in the chat says, hi, guys. How you doing, mate? Thanks for watching. Graham says, Frankie's going to be fantastic for us given the time. Yeah, possibly. Managers aren't always given time, though, are they? That sometimes is the problem, isn't it? Russ says, do you think Ancelotti saw the writing on the wall? Graham says, yes, and Real Madrid came calling. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, what do you think about Ancelotti?
That's actually the rumour mill is that's not actually true. He called them. So tinfoil hat moment, really. This. So yeah, quite possible that with the financial fair play, that, you know, I think we were pushing again. We were pushing for Europe last season. Outside, we were second, I think, at Christmas, weren't we? Certainly over that period. Yeah. There was a stint of going for Champions League, then dropping into the Europa, or whatever it's called nowadays, and then it fell away. I think had we got Europe, you know, the money that comes with that might have been a different kettle of fish. But the rumor is that he was having a telephone call with Real Madrid, and he said something along the lines of, you know, if you're looking for a new manager, and he's on the end of the phone. So, you know, it's fan rumor hearsay stuff. But I think personally, yeah, the writing was on the wall, and he took the first job. It's funny. I'm blessed that I know someone that knows someone quite up in the Everton hierarchy. So I won quite a lot of money on betting Ancelotti got the Everton job. So yeah, I won't name him, but thank you for that. And what he told me was the board were always worried that Ancelotti had never kind of managed with the kind of tools that were in place at a club like us at that point in time. And secondly, that he'd bugger off at the first big job offer that came his way. And yeah, it's kind of proven that way, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, as I said before, I mean, Ancelotti and Arteta kind of. I remember that game Arsenal played Everton, didn't they? They were both in the stands. They were just about to take over, weren't they?
0-0, wasn't it? Yeah,
0-0,
diabolical.
yeah. And funny enough, at the time, I thought it should be the other way around. Arteta, from his history playing for Everton, and Ancelotti, a big name manager, what Arsenal needed, I felt, and I kind of wished it'd been the other way around, and maybe I
Yeah.
still do. But anyway, we will come
I
on to
think I
Arteta
think I
maybe.
think Evertonians were the same. It was kind of eye rubbing from the perspective of we've got Ancelotti, and there's a lot of we can't believe we've pulled off such a
Yeah,
coup.
yeah,
And then there's the other sway of we should have got Arteta. He knows Everton. He knows what we're about.
yeah,
He's been
yeah.
yeah. I think it's funny you say that because I think a lot of fans thought on our side thought the same.
I remember that game so clearly when we, they were both in the stands, and I'm thinking it's the wrong way round. Swap them over, But unfortunately, from our point of view, they didn't, and we are where we are. Stephen says, "Are we going back to Frank Lampard?" He says, "I think the players will all play for him and give their all. I think Lampard is the guy who'll bring the team together and have wanting to play for him." Yeah, no, you can kind of see that's happened a bit, haven't you? The way that they've Everton, the players have shown a different attitude on the pitch, I think, under Lampard than they were before. And yes, maybe Ancelotti, not Ancelotti, Benitez, maybe he couldn't get that out of the players for whatever reason, as you said. And it seems like Lampard's coming. And yes, I mean, you haven't really improved in terms of position in the league. You're exactly the same position you were when he came in. But ultimately, his job was to keep you in the Premier League. He's done that. And, I would say he probably deserves another opportunity next season to get some players in he wants and see what he can do. I mean, I'm assuming you'd feel the same with you about that.
It's what Graham said. He needs time. That's what he needs. It's a big rebuilding, whether it's with or without money that's there or we have to sell to buy. I've got no clue. It's this thing with Mashiri who's been off and having money, not having money, spending too much on tripe. It's kind of a really, really big summer for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big summer for us as well, actually. We're in a similar situation, just at the opposite end of the table, maybe. I mean, we're going to finish as far away from the top as you are from the bottom, really, I guess, in the end of it all. But, yeah, I mean, it is... it's been a strange, obviously, couple of years for Everton, or maybe even further than that. Actually, I mean, I can remember, I when I was younger watching football, I started watching football. Everton had a great team, the '85 team with Peter Reid and Graham Sharp and all them, Southall in goal, and that great Everton team that was. So, it's been sort of strange to see what's gone on really at Everton since, because you've never got close to that, have you, in all those years really since? You've had one or two nearly moments, I suppose, obviously won the FA Cup and stuff like that, but I don't know, it's never quite happened, has it, in the last 30, 40 years really for Everton, has it?
No. So yeah, like you say, so we had that great team in '85 that really should have mopped the floor and won it all. But unfortunately picked in the cup final by Manchester United that year.
Yeah.
The following year, again, '86. It was weird. We were running away with it. In fact, '86 is probably the first one where Arsenal come into my psyche as an Everton fan. I'd have been in my early teens then, and we absolutely trounced you in '86, 6-1 at Goodison. Can you believe that? With all the trouncings you've given us, in more modern times. Yeah, I, that was when you first came into my psyche, is mainly because I was down south by this point, and a lot of my mates are Arsenal fans. So it was good to stick it to them in school. But yeah, I mean, clearly, you can track it. '85, ban in Europe. We all know what happened there if fans of a certain age. We couldn't go into Europe. Players, managers, heads were being turned. Crikey, we lost a good proportion of our team to Rangers. Off they went because they wanted to play European football, and we lost Howard Kendall, of course. I mean, we did win the title again in '87. Kind of a forgotten champions, really. Which is a shame. That was a good say. So it was just as Arsenal were ramping up as well. So I think that year it was Arsenal, Everton, and Liverpool going for it. We won it and won it quite easily in the end. But that was a good team too. And then of course we lost Kendall. He went to manage Athletic Bilbao after he got courted by Barcelona. But Terry Venables took that role he'd had his head turned and off he went. And it's that thing, and I look through Everton's history, and they seem to do this a lot. They have a great manager, and they never get the next appointment quite right. You know, Catterick through the 60s into the early 70s, and Everton Omdenard, and they were getting Bobby Robson, they were getting Brian Clough, and they ended up with Billy Bingham. You know, and you can talk about history repeating itself. It happened then, and they tried to follow the Liverpool model, the boot room as it is at Liverpool. They promoted Colin Harvey to manager, and we were half decent under him. We were, and I don't know. He was a reluctant Everton manager, and he never got it right again. As from a managed perspective, probably until David Moyes came in. Well, sorry, no. Oh, I'm going to get pelters for this. Joe Royle. We got Joe Royle in, but we had the wrong chairman at that point. So Joe Royle, we won the cup in '95, the last trophy that we won, and unfortunately, we had Peter Johnson, a Liverpool scumbag, chairman at the time. He didn't back him in the transfer market to sign Torre Andre Flo for $2.5 million. There was another player involved, but forget him. And I think Royal just thought, well, you're not backing me. What's the point of me being here? And I've read books about it since, and it was kind of an awkward meeting that ended in mutually agreeing to go. And I don't think he wanted to go, and I don't think the chairman wanted him to go, but somehow they ended up parting company. And from that point until Moyes came along, we got our managerial appointments wrong. And then, well, from Moyes onwards, really, it's been a bit of a shambles until we are where we are today. Yeah,
but I'll say I suppose the good thing is, from your point of view, you are sitting in the Premier League. You didn't slip through the trap door as other clubs, other big clubs have done, as we said. So you're still there, and I'm sure
fingernails job,
and I'm sure you'll come back sort of stronger. I mean, obviously, on Sunday it is the final game of the season. I mean, it's been a very difficult season for you guys, and we've had our ups and downs actually overall. Although, maybe more downs for me, certainly in the last week in particular, when, the top four was there and now it's been snatched away, or it seems to be snatched away. It's still possible. But, I mean, obviously, you're safe now. I mean, do you think that's going to have any impact on the game on Sunday? Do you think you're going to go into it with a slightly more relaxed attitude? Or will Frank still want to finish? He's going to want to finish the season strongly with a good performance, isn't he? But there's more at stake for Arsenal, I guess, slightly. The slim chance that we have to win to have any chance. You guys are now safe. You've got not a lot really to play for. Do you think that's going to make an impact on the game? Or do you think, maybe the tensions on us, we've lost our last two playing poorly? I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen on Sunday, actually, isn't it, really?
I'm kind of been feeding off of the nervousness that came through on the chat, really. Before, I thought about this question, and my honest to God answer would be, you'll murder us. If you need those 16-goal swing or something like that, you'd probably get that. No. I honestly don't know what Everton's going to turn on. I think, honest opinion, last night would have absolutely drained that group of players. It would have. And again, just going back and looking over the last few games, there have been a lot of nervous, tense energy been spent by the players not getting the results over those two games at Watford and against Brentford that I referred to. So last night would have drained them totally. But on the other side, it can also invigorate. Maybe that's going to be the case. Yeah. I honestly don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I had no idea about. I think you just said 9 injuries, 9 knocks, within your squad.
Apparently, we've been playing with a few players patched up for the last few games. Apparently, so we don't have the bare bones, but everyone's been playing. But how fit they are, we don't know.
Yeah, well, it's a real tough one to cut. You're right. I think Frank Lampard will want to carry a bit of momentum through. So, again, clutching at straws. But remember Leicester, when they avoided relegation, not too dissimilar, and the following season had a barnstormer, and perfect storm for them, mind you. No one wanted Tottenham to win, so we all played harder against Tottenham, right? But I'm not saying that they're going to win the league, but carry the momentum into next season. I think you're absolutely right with that. But with our record I was going to say Highbury, our record down at the Emirates, one win since '96. Okay, that was last year, but one win. I don't know. It's got draw written all over it, but I wouldn't have said that at the beginning of this until you guys have been going on about the 3 in a row that you could lose and the pressure. It's all on you. The pressure this time.
Exactly.
We will be playing pressure free. I'd like to say we're playing with our flip flops on, but I won't go that far.
Yeah, I mean, I feel as though we've got all the pressure now. In a way, I was kind of hoping that you needed something from the game because you'd have come into it with pressure as well, and then hopefully we could have took advantage of that. But now all the pressure's on us. Everyone can relax, and sometimes when you've seen it happen before, haven't you? A team that maybe they could achieve what they needed to achieve, go into the last game of the season, they relax, and they go out and play really good football. The pressure's off. And they play really well. Alternatively, they're not bothered and they just get rolled over. So you don't really know, do you? I mean, we've actually lost our last 3 games against Everton because obviously the one at the Emirates last season, as you mentioned, we've lost our last 2 at Goodison as well. And just a quick quiz question for you. You know the last time Everton beat Arsenal 4 times in a row? It's only ever happened once. You know when it was? 4 games in a row Everton beat Arsenal.
No, they're going to kill me for this now as well.
It was a long, long time ago. So
right. 19, Dixie Dink won 1931, 32.
You're not far off, actually. The last time it was 1924 was the last time Everton beat Arsenal 4 times in a row. So it's been a long time. It's the only time it's ever happened. You beat us 3 times a couple of times before. But, yeah, so that's in our favour. You know, it's not often it's the only once you've ever beat us 4 games in a row. So that's maybe slightly in our favour. You know, the last time you won 2 games in a row away at Arsenal was in 1987. You won 2 seasons in a row, then 1-0 both times.
Wayne Clark.
Alan Clark scored the winner in one of them. I can't remember.
Wayne Clark from just over the halfway line.
That's it. Yeah, Wayne Clark.
His brother. Yeah, that was that one. Henri to winning the title. In fact, that was probably what stopped you guys from. I think, as I say, you dropped away, not necessarily at that point, but that was kind of where we, I think, stretched out in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, we lost at home to Liverpool and Everton quite close together, and that ended our hopes of winning the league that year. And we won the League Cup and beat Liverpool in the final, so that was nice. But yeah, that was the last time you'd won twice in a row away at Arsenal. So again, that's in our favour as well. Funny enough, you've won the last 3 meetings, but before that, you'd only won 3 of the previous 27 in all competitions, home and away. So we've been a bit of a bogey team for you, obviously, in recent years, definitely.
I think there's often those stats. I think Manchester United and Arsenal, they've racked up more Premier League points against Everton than any other team in the Premier League era.
And as far as I'm aware as well, Everton are the only team that Arsenal have beaten over 100 times in history. It's because we've played each other a lot of times. That's one of the reasons. It's one of the most played fixtures in English football, isn't it? Because as you said, we've both got this long run of being in the top flight together, and we played each other so many times. But I think we've beaten Everton 110 times or something like 109 times, which is the only team over 100. But it is a lot of games. I think it's nearly 300 games that we've played you, so it's not as bad as it could be, I suppose. But
I was trying to anticipate questions you might ask me, and one of the first words I wrote down was defeat. In the main. So through my lifetime, it's been defeat against Arsenal in the main,
Yeah, no, it has been. I mean, Everton was always a game, certainly for a long, long time. You thought Everton at home, that's 3 points to Arsenal because that tended to be the way it went. I mean, we actually won our last 11 games against you at Highbury. The last 11 times we played at Highbury, we won them all. So, that's a long run of defeats in a row against one team, isn't it, away? I don't know.
I think I probably went to most of them, culminating that would have been culminating in the 7-0 hammering just after we were there for the party after we'd qualified via 4th spot for the Champions League. That
7-0
we got turned over 7-0.
Yeah, that was a great Arsenal performance. Yeah, that would have been. I think we played one more time at Highbury after that. The season after, I think Sol Campbell. No, was it? Someone scored. A defender scored 2 goals. It might have been Seagan scored 2 goals. We won 2-0. and that was the last time you played at, but we actually won the last 11. So yeah, and then the first time at the Emirates, you got a draw. So you ended that run. We moved stadiums, and you got a draw straight away. So that was good, wasn't it? But that was even a rare draw, even at the Emirates. I'll say we haven't got a bad record against us. I think when you beat us last year, it was the first win in 26 visits to Arsenal that you'd had. So
yeah, Graham Stewart, I think, at Highbury.
Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, terrible. I can't remember what I went in the other room for 10 minutes before this meeting, but I can still remember the throw-in and the goal in the clock end. Yep.
It was at the clock end. Yeah, Ian Wright actually was captain that day for whatever reason, because he'd put in a transfer request. Bruce Riot was manager, and for some reason he wasn't happy in that, and he'd put in a transfer request, and he got made captain for that game. He scored in the first half, put us ahead, and he celebrated by pointing to his armband on his arm when he celebrated the goal. And of course, Everton came back and won 2-1 in the second half. So yeah, that was the last time we'd won away at Arsenal until last season. Because that was an own goal as well, wasn't it? The goal that won it for you last season.
Goalie, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Burton Leno scored an own goal, which was a strange.
Yeah, I mean, there've been the performance that I remember was the PNR. He went through from the halfway line, 1-on-1 with the keeper, and beautiful little dink in the snow.
In the snow, yeah.
And I think we still drew that game 2-2. But
we scored in the
only great performance at the Emirates that I really do remember. But
yeah, we scored in the 96-minute equaliser that game. Thomas Rezon scored right late goal, and it looked as though you were going to win that game, and we came back and got that draw. But yeah, I remember that one in the snow. Yeah, that was a strange game, because we started off well. I think we were 1-0 up in that game. You came back and led 2-1, and that was that great goal, as you said, and then Thomas Rezon popped up right at the end and made it 2-2. I think that was the season when we'd beaten you 6-1 on the first game, actually. I think that was that same season, later on that same season. So.
You see, the 6-1 game was it was a protest game by Jolyon Lescott. He wanted his move to Manchester City, and he was refused the move, and he played with lead in his boots, in his shorts, and God knows what. It was almost like a protest performance from him. Right titty lip on him. And yeah, I was in Cyprus that day, watching it with a bar full of me and one other Evertonian, bar full of Gooners, and yeah, it was horrendous. At least I wasn't there, so.
Yeah, I was there. That's actually our biggest ever win in the first game of the season, actually, ever in history. So that was quite a historic game. But yeah, that was a strange one. I certainly wasn't expecting that. And going to that game, we'd win 6-1 on the first game of the season. But anyway, but yeah, that was that same season. And I say at the return game at the Emirates, you almost beat us. So it goes to show how strange football is at times, doesn't it? Really, I suppose. That's how things can turn around. But yeah, I mean, we do have a great record, obviously, historically in this fixture, but. I always think for some reason that seems to make a difference. And I don't know why, because it's different players, it's different teams, it's different managers. And yet some teams you have a great record against, other teams you have a really poor record against, regardless of anything. And it's almost like it doesn't make sense, does it? But historically, it always seems to be the case. And I don't know how we could beat Everton 11 times in a row at home. It doesn't make any sense when different players, different teams. How does that work? It just doesn't.
I think I know, but yeah. It's funny. I was looking at it. I mean, I've seen... As I say, came down south, so I got to go to more London games and whatnot than going to Goodison as a kind of teenager until I could drive myself. So, but yeah, there have been the Wayne Clark one, we spoke about that one. It was always patchy right the way throughout. Even when we were good, I know I said that I can remember the 6-1. I actually remember when CFAX. That's how I remember. I was watching it through CFAX. There are probably people going, "What's that?" But
yeah, there will be.
Jeff Stelling, but just text words, and it'd refresh every 5 minutes or something. But yeah, and that's how I remember it. And as I say, it enabled me to get my mates at school with that one. But yeah, right the way throughout time, we've had patchy results. There's one it'll be in that group of 11. There's one game, and it still to this day annoys me. You beat us 2-1. There was a penalty before VAR, all of this, there was a penalty that was given against Alan Stubbs. And God knows how it was given. It was arms down his side, and it clipped his arm, and they gave a penalty. So I think we were 1-0 up. I might be wrong there. But anyway, we lost the game 2-1. And again, Henry, loved him, don't get me wrong. But he should have been off that game as well. And it was another one. It still rankles to this day, that result, I tell you. Honestly.
I remember that one, actually. Yeah, I do remember. I think was it, I think it might have been Vieira that scored the winning goal for us that day, actually.
Yeah,
I think it might be.
I'd been to the Drayton beforehand. I was, as 9 times out of 10 when I've been to Highbury or the Emirates, half cut. Can't remember. These things come in fits and starts to me. But yeah, patchy results. There are obvious ones. There's one. We beat you. You were champions, and you came to Goodison as champions. So we've been 91, something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. I know the one you're going to say.
We beat you 3-1. Yeah. Mark Ward scored 2 goals, but Peter Beardsley absolutely ran the show. And I remember thinking, "Oh, that's it. We're back. Everton are back. This is it. We've beaten the champions, and players like those playing really well." And another false dawn, but that was a great historical performance that I can remember.
Yeah, and I there was that one as well where the Rooney game, of course, when he scored that winning goal, the game that put Rooney in the spotlight, last-minute winner. In fact, we hadn't lost for 30 games going into that, and then Rooney popped up in the night.
People always forget that, don't they? That was also because it was remember his name. It was his first goal, and of course, So that was really the kind of I guess when we started to come back, Rooney's breakthrough season. The season after we finished 17th, but we really were threatening to do something that year. And I was again in the Park End that day, and talking about the nothing quite like a last-minute winner, and that was super cracking finish, local lad. It was a good game. Yeah. I'm remembering who I met after the game, and I'd not seen him for a long time. And he didn't see me coming. I'm 6'4", banged into him, celebrating. Yeah, no, that was a good one. And then I think the reverse fixture, I think you absolutely tonked us at Highbury. I'm not quite sure what the result was again.
I don't remember what the return fixture was that season.
I think Rooney scored again, but I know we lost.
He always seemed to score against us, Rooney, whoever he plays for. He was one of them players when he always seemed to score.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, obviously a great player. Of course he was. But yeah, that was obviously a historic game, wasn't it? Rooney's first goal, and that last minute when I say we were at the time, I think it was one of the record in the Premier League unbeaten runs that we were on, 30 games at the time, and Rooney with that, it was a spectacular goal as well, wasn't it? Top corner.
It was, but people always forget the other goal. So I think you went 1-0 up, and then we had Canadian striker Redzinski. And it was an absolutely superb finish from someone who was a bit of an average forward. But yeah, it was a great game, that one. I remember it really well. He says struggling to remember things, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it was. That was obviously. I just remember it for that goal. Really, I don't remember too much about the rest of it. But that goal, obviously.
I can remember it was 1-0, and then we pulled it back. I've been a few actually now. They're all kind of pouring into my brain. There's another one I want to talk about. There's another 2 actually, but yeah, that one. But it was a good goal. That was a point, but it's always forgotten because of the Rooney goal.
Yeah. Funny enough that, going 1-0 up, we seem to have gone 1-0 up against Everton quite a lot and lost. Obviously, the last 2 seasons at Goodison, we've gone 1-0 up. There was one a few years ago when Sanchez scored a free kick and was 1-0 up and lost 2-1. Obviously, that one that we just mentioned, the Rooney goal, the Rooney game, we were 1-0 up and lost 2-1. The one at Highbury when you won 2-1, we were 1-0 up and lost 2-1. It seems to be a theme with Arsenal and Everton games, actually. You don't beat us very often, but usually when you do, we've gone 1-0 up. So maybe on Sunday, if we score first, I'm not going to be thinking
so if there's any no homers on the chat or anything like that, it's a WhatsApp group. I mean, if we go 1-0 down, we need to back for an Everton win on Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, I would say so because it's historically seems to happen quite a lot, doesn't it? We seem to throw away leads against Everton, but anyway, we'll see what happens. Graham says there Campbell was sent off in that game. I don't know which particular game that was. One of the that you mentioned before. Was that one?
I think that was the one I was moaning about.
I think it might have been actually thinking about it.
Look, so many Everton players, stroke Arsenal players get sent off in that fixture. It's unbelievable. Thomas Gravesen might have gone in the same game, or that might have been the 7-0.
Yeah, I remember him getting sent off in a game. Yeah, I remember Sol Campbell. Yeah, got sent off, didn't he? Yeah, was that game 2-1? Yeah, I'm sure that was the one.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's been a lot. There was a lot of similar games actually, wasn't there, between Arsenal and Everton, especially at Highbury.
We couldn't even beat 10 men. Yeah.
Well, we didn't have a bad team there, to be fair, did we? Thierry Henry and whatever. So it wasn't a bad.
No,
Arsenal.
true. That's true.
So we could play with 10 men. It was fine, and we tended to do it quite a lot. What I've done is I've put together this little thing actually, just for a bit of fun. Obviously, over the years, there's been a lot of players that's played for Everton and Arsenal, and you know, what I'm going to do is we could. I'll let you decide whether you want to keep him as an Everton player or whether you want to give him to us as an Arsenal player. Like players that's I've not done them all, just someone from that are just sort of from recent-ish times. So we'll start with maybe we'll start with this one because this could be quite interesting.
Oh, love him.
So obviously for people that can't see, because obviously on the audio, that's Kevin Campbell, of course, played for both clubs. Obviously he did pretty well for Everton, didn't he? He did all right for Arsenal as well earlier in his career. Well,
I'm now beginning to see a pattern because Kevin Campbell was out in Turkey and on loan to Everton. He was brought in on loan and single-handedly, he formed a partnership with, probably on your list, Franny Jeffers, but he was the catalyst. And I think he scored 8 in 9 or 9 in 10 to keep Everton up. It wasn't quite like this one, going to the wire or anything like that. But without his goals, we'd have gone down. And he was a brilliant player. There's a guy whose website we used to go on a lot, When Skies a Grey fanzine for Everton as well. And he wrote, when Kev Campbell got a new contract, I think he must have been about 31, and it put him at that point in time as a huge Everton earner. And Kevin Campbell's guilty of nothing more than getting old. When Everton fans started getting on his back, which is always a line that I wish that he'd gone earlier from Everton and gone as an absolute hero. He's a hero of mine anyway. But so do I get to keep him? Because I'd keep him.
You can keep him, yeah. I'll let you keep. I mean, he did play more games for Arsenal, 224 compared to 145 for Everton. He scored 60 goals for Arsenal, 43 for Everton. But yeah, I mean, I think he probably had more impact that time for you. Whatever. He did win a lot of trophies for Arsenal. He obviously won the league title, the FA Cup and stuff like that.
I had no. I mean, again, goes back to I did actually. I went to I shouldn't admit this with any Everton fans who are watching it, but I did go to an Arsenal game where he was playing. It was a midweek game against Nottingham Forest. He beat him 3-0 and he scored twice. And I remember I was with my mate Matt, and I said, "He's a really good player. I wouldn't mind him at Everton." And that was that. And then years later, he turned up at Everton, and yeah, I got my wish. But I had no idea he'd played so many games for you or scored so many goals for you. I'm shocked.
Yeah, well, I mean, he came through our youth system and stuff like that. He played for Arsenal quite a long time, sort of 7-8 years. So he did play a lot of games. Obviously, had a good partnership with Ian Wright for a while. And I say he helped us win quite a few trophies. But I know how much Everton fans love him, and I know how much he still loves Everton. He's on quite a lot of podcasts and stuff. He's always saying how much he loves Everton. So
I sponsored an Everton game a couple of seasons ago, and I tried to get him as a guest of honour. And I got a very nice WhatsApp message from him, declining because he was working. But
he's a top man. He's a top man. Someone else who maybe had a bigger impact at Arsenal than Everton, but certainly played a part in certainly one big Everton game was this guy.
And big Everton fan as well.
Anders Limpar. I mean, he was a great player for Arsenal, actually. Fantastic player for Arsenal. He didn't quite get on with George Graham at the end and was kind of, pushed out the team. But obviously that game against Wimbledon, he won that penalty, didn't he? That got you back in that game.
He gave one away as well.
Yeah, he did actually. That's true. Yeah,
he's silky, lovely, silky skills. I used to love watching him. I think we got him at the back end of the career, and I think it was one of those he had fallen out with Graham. I think he did have a point to prove, but he played really well under Joe Royle. It all kind of died away a little bit, and it ended badly. I think he ended up going to Birmingham City or somewhere that.
That's right. Yeah.
I liked him. Scored some cracking goals. Silky winger. Yeah, But I think you had his best years, so I'll let you keep him.
Yeah, we did. Funny enough, he played 116 games for Arsenal, scored 20 goals. He played 66 times for Everton and scored only 5 goals, actually, funny enough. I thought he would have scored a few more than that, but they must have been pretty good if you remember him. So
clearly watching that era through too much beer.
But I mean, no, he was a very good player for Arsenal, certainly for the first 2 or 3 years. Certainly, while he was getting picked regularly, and then I say he fell out with George Graham, was in and out of the team, which never really suited him. He needed to play regular to get the best out of him. Right, okay, that was him. What about who should we have? What about this guy here? Because I really like him actually.
Oh,
Kevin Richardson.
Oh,
he's actually. I think he's the only player that I'm aware of that's won the league at both Arsenal and Everton. So he's a bit of a legend at both clubs, actually.
He for me, just unfortunate that he was at that time where it was Peter Reid, Paul Bracewell in the middle and whatnot. That player should never have left Everton. No, we sold him to Watford for some stupid amount of money, like 600 grand. I mean, it was a lot at the time, but yeah, he was it's so versatile. And the biggest compliment I can give to him is you only notice him when he's not in the side. And I think as a football fan, you'll know exactly what I mean. He just pulled strings and he does that graft that no one else wants to do. He probably played far more than for Arsenal he did for Everton, scored more, etc. But for me, I want him at Everton for sure. Keep. Should never have left.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised when Arsenal bought him actually in 1987. But for me, he was actually man of the match that game at Anfield when we won the league, the Michael Thomas game. I thought he was man of the match for us that day. He was brilliant. And he was a great player for Arsenal. In fact, you say he played a lot more games for Arsenal. He played 113 for Everton. He played 121 for Arsenal. So actually, it was quite similar. And actually, he scored 16 goals for Everton and only scored 8 for Arsenal. So he scored more goals for Everton. But he did play.
There's a great film that was put together. Everton film called What's Our Name? I don't know if you've seen it. It is about Everton, but there's a great scene in it where we play a semi-final in the Milk Cup against Aston Villa, and we can admit it now. And basically, Villa are pressing and they have a shot on goal, and it's quite clear as he hooks it up over the bar, but he's got his bandaged arm and he hooks it up. Anyway, he's interviewed after the game, and he said that the interview was Elton Wellesby, his big Everton fan, and he says to him, "Did you handball that?" And he went, "Me? No, I don't think so. No, not at all." Everything that Everton did great in the 80s, a lot of it came through Richardson. Another unsung hero, Alan Harper as well, but he won't be on your list. He should never have left Everton. I'll bet you any money, though. You've said that. I thought he played more for Arsenal than any of his clubs, but he would have played more for Villa, right? Because he nearly won the Championship.
I think he might have done. But yeah, he was a great player, actually. Every club he was at. Actually, Graham's put me right. He said Joe Mercer won the league at both clubs. Oh, well, there you go. He probably did, actually. He certainly won the league at Arsenal. Joe Mercer had quite a long spell at Arsenal, actually. I didn't put him on my list because it was such a long time ago. You see, he played a lot of games for both clubs, 186 for Everton and 275 for Arsenal. So he played, obviously either side of the war. I didn't realise he'd won the league with Everton, so that's a good one. Yeah, so obviously that's 2 players then that have won the league at both clubs. There you go. Okay, but we'll go back in time into this guy. I don't know where you might not have seen him play, but he's certainly
of course I did. Well, no, I didn't see him play, but I know who he is.
And a ball, of course. I think he won the league at Everton, actually, didn't he? He didn't quite win. He came to Arsenal just after we'd done the double, so he didn't actually win the league with us. But he was obviously a fantastic player, wasn't he?
He's the greatest of them all. So we're Evertonians are spoon-fed generation by generation about the so the 85 squad is my team, and fortunately there hasn't been one better than that. But if you speak to the older Evertonians, the 85 squad weren't as good as the 61 squad or the 70 squad, and that's the one that Alan Ball was in. And we've got our holy trinity of Kendall Ball and Harvey, and we all know about Alan Ball. Going back to that film that I mentioned, What's Our Name? So I'm not plugging it. Sorry,
I'm going to have to watch it now, so it's fine. I'm going to have to go and watch it.
That's how the story starts. Is the guy who kind of wrote it? He phoned Everton because Everton had sold Alan Ball to Arsenal, and he rang them and sort of said something along the lines of, "I'm never coming to watch Everton again. We're never going to win anything ever again because you sold Alan Ball to Arsenal. I'm going to support Arsenal." Honestly, it's a great movie if you've got some time, hunt it out. It's I don't know where it is, but it's a great watch. You don't have to be an Evertonian to watch it, is what I'm getting at.
No, it sounds great actually, but yeah, I mean,
so he's staying at Everton. You don't even need to give me any.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously he was before my time at Arsenal, but Arsenal fans that I spoke to kind of think that he was maybe a bit too. Thought he was maybe bigger than the club kind of thing at the time he played for Arsenal. But anyway, he did play 254 games for Everton between 66 and 1972, scored 80 goals, so goal scoring midfield player. And for Arsenal, he actually played 218 games, so he played quite a lot of times for Arsenal, scored 52 goals. So in a team that for Arsenal, but there was a break-up of the double team, and we ended up almost getting relegated. He was captain and he sort of dragged us through actually quite a lot at the time. So, he did well, but obviously he had his main success at Everton, didn't he?
Yeah, he's an Everton legend, absolute legend.
Yeah,
I'm spoon-fed on stories about him, as most of my generation. Even our kids are being spoon-fed about this guy who's not played for however many years it is. He was a cracking footballer. Loved the goal against Liverpool, so that's always a bonus as far as we're concerned.
And he had a great game in the '66 World Cup final as well, didn't he? As we all know.
He did, yeah. Well, and he joined us in the summer. That year. I think he scored in his first game against Liverpool, but that might be the Charity Shield, and I'm not sure if it was that game or not. But I wasn't alive, in my defence. Any Everton fans watching? He's an absolute great. He never wanted to be sold. I think what you've just said is interesting. He didn't want to be sold. He didn't want to leave Everton. And I always thought I didn't realise that he'd won the double. I always thought he did the double with you.
No, he came halfway through the season after.
Right.
So he didn't quite win. He didn't win any trophies with us actually, because he came just after the success that we'd had. And I say in a side that ended up going in decline, it wasn't down to him. He was the one that kept it together, really, if anything. But we maybe became a little bit too reliant on him, and I think maybe he wasn't happy with the direction that the club were going in at that time. We sold a lot of the double team, and he was left with the remnants of it all, really. And I say in the end, I think Terry Neal took over, and they didn't really get on. And in the end, he moved on to. Was it South? I don't know if he went straight to Southampton after us. I think he might have done.
Yeah, I know he was at Southampton. Or that's where I remember him playing there.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, he did end up playing 218 games for Arsenal, which is quite a lot, really, isn't it?
I did meet him once, and
did you really?
It was I think he just finished at City as a manager at City, and I got to meet him, and sort of jokingly mentioned something about managing Everton, and I'd crawl over broken glass to come and manage this club. That's how much he loved it. He loved Everton, so yeah, and he was loved back, so still is.
Yeah, no. I think he's pretty much loved everywhere he's played. Really, he was a great player, wasn't he? There's no doubt about that. Absolute legend of the game. Okay, I'll let you keep him then, because he obviously he made more of an impact at Everton than at Arsenal in his career. So we'll let you off there. And there's one that might go the other way, I think, possibly. Martin Keown, he had obviously 2 spells at Arsenal, and in between that he was at Everton for how long was he at Everton for? Let's have a look. He was at Everton for about 3 or 4 years, wasn't he? He played for Everton.
Yeah. So if I were a player, that's who I'd play like.
Yeah.
You're a violent footballer. I liked him at Everton. I'm sure there are better stories, but the one that I can always recall was that god awful Simod Trophy, Zenith Data Systems. I don't know. It was called one or the other. We played Palace, and we were absolutely bossing it. I was when Ian Wright was still at Palace. We were bossing the game, and I don't know whether it was. I don't think it was Wrighty. I think it was Mark Bright went up and splatted Keown's nose, and. Yeah, when I say splattered, proper boom. And Keown, as you know, real hard knot. He actually left the field, and we fell apart, and they tore us to pieces. in the end. I liked him. Yeah, he got sold because we needed the money, is my understanding. I don't think he got on with Kendall either in Kendall Mark II when he came back. So, yeah, he's more an Arsenal legend than an Everton one. So, yeah.
He did play 126 games for Everton, actually, which, over about, I think it was 3 or 4 seasons. Didn't score a goal at all, actually, but he didn't get that many anyway. In the end, over Arsenal, his 2 spells at Arsenal, he played 449 games for Arsenal, so a lot of games. Scored 8 goals. Obviously, won a lot of trophies as well. And yeah, he was a wholehearted player, shall we say? He gave everything, didn't he? And he didn't
he did.
So you have to admire him for that. He always got a lot of time for Mike Ken. Even now, of course, on the telly, he always sticks up for Arsenal when when people are getting at him. He's always looking to stand up for Arsenal. So I do like Mike Ken. So he is definitely an Arsenal legend, and rightly so as well.
He's the only one who seems to be prepared to call out the biased commentary and co-commentators. Let's put it that way, Jamie Carragher.
He is. Yeah. I mean, he should be doing a lot more. I think they should get him more involved because he's a great guy. I do really like him, and I think we'll keep him then if that's okay. Because
I'm happy with that.
I do rather like him. Here's one that you probably won't want to keep, so we'll probably keep him as well. Theo Walcott, of course, who I personally really, really liked him at Arsenal. I've got to be honest. I thought he was very underrated. He did score 108 goals for Arsenal. And then, of course, he did go to Everton in 2018, I think it was, at the January window. What did you make of his time at Everton? Because it never really happened for him there, did it?
No. So it goes back to this. So this is actually when I gave up my season ticket when Sam Allardyce came as the manager. So he brought him in. 25 million badly spent. Look, I always liked watching him, and I always thought that his better position was through the middle. Certainly when he was younger, coming out, bursting through the middle, and kind of like, Dele Alli role for Tottenham more than Everton as well. Bursting through the middle, using his pace, and he couldn't have finished. He scored a few. Probably count them on 2 hands if you're lucky for us. But the one that sticks out in my brain was the missed kick by whoever it was, with Richarlison, possibly. Last minute winner away to Watford. Again, you always remember the last minute winner. So yeah, that was a decent one. It was just, for me, it's that we bought him. He'd reached the peak of his pyramid and he was on the downwards sort of slope of his career. We paid a lot of money for him. There was a lot of expectation, and I think he knew that his career would peak as well. And although Everton are a big club, I think it was a case of, we're not really going to do much here, so I'm just going to skim the surface and do the bare minimum. So,
yeah, that seemed to be the case. I mean, he did play 85 games for Everton and scored 11 goals.
11
on 2 hands, but almost. He did get 11 goals for Everton, and he played 397 games for Arsenal and scored 108 goals. So I thought he was a good player for Arsenal. I really liked watching him. He was one of them sort of players, especially like you said, when he was younger and he was fast, and he'd get you off your seat because when you got the ball, you thought something might happen.
Yeah.
Quite often it didn't always happen as you wanted it to happen, but things sometimes happened, and I quite liked him. He had a good scoring record against Tottenham as well, which for an Arsenal fan is always nice.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I say, I think we just got him at the wrong end of his career. That's all. If we'd have got him when he was 16 or whatever it was, when you got him from Southampton, it might have been a different kettle of fish. I had no idea. 380 games as well. Wow.
Yeah, 397 actually. 397 he played for Arsenal. A lot of games. He was at Arsenal for what, 15, 13 years, so he was there a long time.
Didn't he have the reputation of always being injured though as well? That was the other thing.
Well, he did suffer quite a few injuries. Yeah, he did in his career, and he seemed to be, when he was injured, he seemed to be out for quite a long time rather than just missing the odd games here and there. He seemed to be out for quite sort of, especially early on in his career, not so much later on. He seemed to maybe, he did have that bad knee injury that he couldn't play in the 2014 FA Cup final because he got injured against Tottenham when he did the famous 2-0 sitting on the as he was getting stretchered off in front of the Tottenham fans. That was always nice when stuff like that he did. So I always liked him. He was, a lot of Arsenal fans gave him a lot of stick. Really thought that he didn't have enough end product, but 1 in 4, a goal every 1 in 4 games isn't bad, is it? For a player who played mainly as a wide player, he didn't really play through the middle that much. He did sometimes, but yeah, I don't mind keeping him because I quite like him. I mean, obviously there are a load more that I could have put on the list, but we'd have been here all night. So there's just a couple more that I put on. I don't know if you remember this guy again, probably a bit before your time. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, but it's tip-tonguey. As soon as you say it, I'll know. It's his hair.
Yeah, he did have distinctive hair. Indeed, he did.
Trevor Ross.
Trevor Ross, exactly. That's the one, Trevor Ross. He played for Everton between 1977 and 1983, and he was at Arsenal from 1972 to 1977. So he was at Arsenal first, and then he moved to Everton.
If Arsenal fans want to rib an Everton fan about signing a player for too much money, it's probably Trevor Ross over Alex Iwobi. No, you can keep him.
Okay.
We don't need to talk about him.
He's famous.
Goes back to that film again. He's famous for one thing and one thing only at Everton. Really, he probably scored a couple of goals, maybe, but they lost a game, and Colin Harvey was assistant to Kendall, and they'd lost a game. I think it was at Derby from the film, but anyway, and they were giving him a bollocking in the showers, and Trevor Ross apparently came in and he went, "Has anyone seen my conditioner?" And Colin Harvey just exploded and absolutely went to town on him. Actually, it was funny. There was a thing on Facebook not so long ago where someone bumped into him in the street, and they regaled that tale, to Trevor Ross, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I do remember that." But yeah, no, you can keep him.
Okay. Funnily enough, he played 120 games for Everton and scored 16 goals. He only played 67 times for Arsenal and scored 9. So he did play for Arsenal at a time when we were sort of rebuilding and Liam Brady and stuff like that coming through. So he maybe didn't play for Arsenal as much, but I don't really remember much about him.
I'm shocked he played that many for Everton. I really am. But again, I didn't see him. It was kind of before my time. It just spoon-fed the story. That was kind of as I was a kid, and Trevor Ross was no, I don't want to be him. I'll be Bob Latchford, thanks.
But he did have nice hair, fair enough. That's why he needed conditioner, because he did have nice hair, didn't he?
Yeah.
So obviously there's only one that we can finish on, and it has to be this guy, of course. Mikel Arteta, who played a lot more games for Everton than he did for Arsenal. Although we lumbered with him now, unfortunately. But anyway, that's another story. I mean, what did you make of him obviously at Everton? He played for you guys for quite a long time, didn't he?
He did. I'm going to get hung and quartered by any of the lot that I know who I've told them coming on here, and if they are watching this. Right. I like him and I love him as a player during that period at Everton. He came in on loan from Real Sociedad. I already knew about him when he was at Rangers. They had this great Spanish player up there. Anyway, we got him on loan, and we actually, Moyes wasn't going to sign him. He was going after someone else. Can't remember who it was. Someone else who didn't get him, and eventually brought in Arteta, and he was brilliant. And that Arteta, PNR, Tim Cahill sort of midfield area was superb during that period. However, in my humble opinion, Mikel Arteta at Everton only ever scored goals against Boltons and Bradfords and the like. He never really did it against Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United. Doesn't detract. I just wish he'd been a better player, because when we sold him to Arsenal, he just had a bad, I think, 2 seasons with injury. And I thought 10, 11 million quid for, I think he was 29, 30, coming up to that anyway. I thought, we've had the best of him. Yeah, good deal. Thank you very much. And then he went on and, well, he was amazing for Arsenal. I think he was better for Arsenal than he was for Everton. And that grates a little bit, considering what I've just said. But I liked him. There were Everton fans who absolutely adore him, and he's up there in the top, well, I'd say top 5, top 10 of their midfielders, perhaps. But yeah, I liked him. Not enough to pick him. Sorry.
No.
It was yours.
You can have him. No, I mean, he did play 209 games for Everton, scored 35 goals, but like you said, most of them may have been against the weaker teams. I'm not sure. Then for Arsenal, he did his career ended a little bit early because of injury. He played 150 games for Arsenal, scored 16 goals. A lot of them were penalties. Actually, he was quite good at taking penalties. I never quite felt, and maybe it wasn't his fault. He came to Arsenal, we obviously previously we'd had players like Patrick Vieira in our midfield and great players like that, and we were rebuilding the team, and he came along and wasn't in that league for midfield players that we'd seen previously at the club, and that wasn't his fault. But I think a lot of Arsenal fans were a little bit maybe underwhelmed with him. He was an all right player, he did a job, he was okay, but he wasn't in that top level of midfield players that maybe we'd been used to seeing. And I don't know if that was the reason. I mean, he was an all right player. He did well. He was captain for a while. He won the FA Cup a couple of times with us as well. So he had success. And at that time, he was a good player, but maybe just he came at the time when we were in a big transition. And he was part of that. He came in a transfer window in the summer when we bought about 6 players on deadline day, and he happened to be one of them. And it was a big, massive change at the club. And it was like he came along, and I think Arsenal fans were hoping maybe for more better players coming in rather than Mikel Arteta, unfortunately. And he did all right, and I didn't mind him as a player actually. I mean, that does kind of lead me on to obviously him as a manager now. I mean, what do you make of Mikel Arteta, the job he's done at Arsenal? Obviously, being a former Everton player as well, he was in the running maybe for the Everton manager's job at the same time. I mean, what have you made of what he's done at Arsenal so far?
As I say, I'm kind of surrounded by lots of Gooner mates, and so I feed off of them in the main. I honestly don't, unless you play in Everton, I don't really watch much football outside of that. The odd game here or there. A few eyebrow raising results since he's been a manager, and I don't mean that in a positive way. We've already kind of spoken about it, but I agree with what you're saying, and a lot of Everton fans would probably say the same. When Ancelotti and Arteta went to respective clubs, you would have expected it the other way around, and both of the clubs would have probably gladly accepted that. It's much like Lampard. He's got his first big gig at a huge club. He's got one hell of a rebuilding job that he's got to do. He's doing that, and he's doing that using the kind of a lot of, from what I can see, with the youth players. It's not massive outlay. I know the Gabriel, the centre back, and that winger who I can't even remember his name. The other one that you paid a lot of money for. Was he his signing? I'm not sure he was actually.
No, Pepe was signed just earlier in the season before he came in, so yeah, he was already there. But yeah, he doesn't like him, so does he?
So he's kind of reshaping it, and as I say, he's clearly an acolyte of Pep Guardiola. He's come. I mean, that whole setup really surprised me as well. Him turning up as assistant manager to Pep Guardiola. It was like, wow, really? Okay, so. He's got this idea in his head about how he wants to play. The few times that I've seen him or I've seen Arsenal that I haven't been against Everton, I've not really been impressed. But then I'm benchmarking it against Wenger's Arsenal, so it's really kind of hard, isn't it? Because that's
we are as Arsenal fans as well, I guess, because
And that's a mistake that all football fans make. You're always looking over your shoulder and you're missing what's in front of you, really. It's a strange thing. We've been doing it since 1989, really. But I think that you're ahead of where you perhaps should be. So going for Champions League, I think had you got it, it's an acceleration of where you are going to be under him. I think he's ultimately done well, but it's not spectacular, is it? But he's ahead of schedule. I think had you got Champions League this year, it would have just been an acceleration of. If you're not there next year, I'd be shocked. But I think you were a couple of players short, and I don't know if you're going to ask me about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Unfortunately, when I talk about selling crown jewels and rumour mills and all of that stuff, it's that kind of thing. But what I do like about Arteta is And as an outsider looking in, he's got rid of the forward. I can't remember pronounce his surname, so I'm not bother. He's got rid of him because of something that's happened. The player's not dropping into line, and he's not been afraid to make those big decisions. And I know a lot of Arsenal fans have gone, "What? Why are you doing that?" I think he's going to do well. Whether it'll be well enough, though, that's the $1 million question.
I mean, I guess time is going to tell. He's just got a new contract. Russ says, "I've got to go, lads. I've been a really great listen, really insightful. Rez has been great. He has indeed. Thanks for tuning in, Russ, as well. We'll speak soon, mate, no doubt." Graham says, Rez was class for Everton in 2008. It was his best year.
Graham's going to give me a hard time. I know that.
but yeah, I mean, I'm still unconvinced by Mikel Arteta as a manager. I've got to be honest. I think he's a little bit too rigid. He doesn't seem to have much of a plan B. He just wants to play one way. He only wants to buy one certain type of player. And if that player, like the players that are at the club that didn't fit in with what he wanted, he just got rid of. Rather than trying to adapt or maybe coach him a bit better, he just thought, well, I can't work with that player because he doesn't fit in my structure. I'm getting rid of him. Aubameyang being the best, probably the biggest high-profile example of that, I think. And I would like to see him learn from the mistakes that he's made, and he doesn't seem to have done that so far. And he's been there nearly 3 years, and I'm worried that he's just been given this new contract till 2025. I know it doesn't mean he's going to stay till 2025 because football managers don't tend to work like that. But the club obviously are wanting to back him and give him the time to really complete the rebuild, if you like. I'm a little bit concerned about the rebuild for two reasons. One, because his rebuild at the moment has been spent mostly on the defence. Last summer, he bought a new goalkeeper, he bought a new right back, a new left back, a new centre back. And this season, we've conceded more goals, and that's a worry. Now we're talking about having to buy another centre back, another left back. Well, hang on, you just bought them last summer. That was meant to be fixing that problem, and you haven't. And now he's got to do it again. And he hasn't even started on the forwards yet. He hasn't even bought a striker in 2.5 years. And a lot of things worry me. And obviously the last two performances, particularly Monday at Everton, that was disgusting, that performance. Arsenal put in that fight. And unfortunately, he's the manager. And yes, you can blame the players, whatever it is, but he's the manager. He's responsible for putting the team out and getting results on the pitch. And if they don't get the results, it is down to him. And, I've had fans from other clubs on throughout this season, from clubs near the top of the league to clubs near the bottom. And I'm quite interested to know, would you take Arteta as your manager now? Would you swap?
Would I swap Arteta for Lampard? Graham would, clearly. Well, yeah, no, I don't think I would. I honestly, I don't think I would. No, I wouldn't.
Wow. See, this is the point, right? And I've tried to say this to other Arsenal fans, right? I've had Newcastle fans on, they don't want him, right? You're an Everton fan, you don't want him. I've had a Burnley fan, they don't want him. Burnley could get relegated, they don't want Arteta, right? Why do Arsenal fans want him? If no one else does, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. No one else wants him as their manager. So why do our fans so happy to have him? I don't get it, me. I just don't understand it.
A friend of mine, Sean, is a season ticket holder for Arsenal for many years, and I think earlier in the year when you weren't doing so well, he wanted him gone, full stop. Then you went on that run and climbed the table. And the next time I spoke to him, he was like, "Yeah, he's doing all right, and it's flattering to deceive." A lot of lucky results, that kind of stuff. All right, fair enough. And clinging on by your fingernails for the Champions League the last time I saw him, and he's still saying, "Oh, if there was someone better, I'd want that." And then the next time, I think, well, it might have just been around the same time he got the contract, and he's like, much like you. It doesn't mean he's going to stay though, does it? And I've not seen him since. So I guarantee if I see him, before Sunday, he'd be like, "Oh, I want him gone. I don't like him." I don't know. I think going back to him being an Everton player, Graham's right. He was great in 2008. If that was the year that we didn't beat Fiorentina to get through in the Europa League, that was the best season that he ever had at Everton. So Graham is right to call that out. I just think he never offered the amount of respect that Everton fans deserved when he was at Arsenal. As a player, it was almost like, "Oh, that's behind me," and maybe that's how they have to be. But I don't know. that's why I think I've probably got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about him. So, yeah, as a manager, I've not seen anything that he's doing at Arsenal. Better squad of players or better pool of players. I don't think I've seen anything that makes me think, yeah, he'd do all right at Everton. Ask me that question, rewind back in time and ask me that question at the time we appointed the respective managers, Ancelotti and Arteta. I'd have probably had your arm off about there for Arteta, possibly over Ancelotti as well. Just on the knowledge that I was fearing that he'd go at the drop of a hat, which he did do.
I'll be interested, actually, you say about Graham. If Graham's still watching, I'll be interested to know whether Graham would take Arteta as Everton's manager, actually. Because I've yet to find a fan of another club that I've spoken to that would take him, actually. And yes, I know it's a hypothetical question, I suppose, in a way. But, other clubs that have been, struggling at the bottom end of the league, still wouldn't take Arteta, even though most people have said to me, "Oh yeah, he seems like he's doing a pretty good job at Arsenal. He's a nice guy, blah blah blah." Saying the other right, which is fair enough. I agree with all of that. But they don't want him to be their manager. So why do we have to put up with him? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
says there in the chat as well. Stop sitting on the fence, Richard. Tell us how you really feel. Yeah, I mean, I've been. As the longer the season, I mean, look, I thought he should have been sacked last season. We were 15th. Funny enough, Frank Lampard at the time at Chelsea. We were doing quite similar. We were quite similar placed in the league. In fact, we were doing. I think Chelsea were doing a little bit better than us, and they sacked Frank Lampard. And I wanted Arteta gone then because we couldn't win a game. And yes, it's improved since then, but it's improved from the point that he took us down to in the first place, and he's got us back to where we started. And to me, that's not really an improvement, is it, overall? But anyway, I'm not convinced he's the right man to take us forward. But, he looks like he's going to be given time. So we'll have to see what happens. It's either going to be a genius decision by the club to stick by him when we go on and become the new Man City. And that'll be, fantastic. Or all of us lot that maybe doubt him will hopefully not be proved right, because I don't want to be right about him. I want him to be successful because he's our manager and I want to win games. I want to win trophies. He's not convinced me that he's the right man to do that. And it's not just his fault, the way the club's being run, you'll understand that the way your club's been run as well. It's, bad decisions, bad recruitment, all kinds of stuff, bad stuff behind the scenes, or what have you. But ultimately, the manager is responsible for what happens on the pitch, regardless of anything else. And
it's interesting what you said about the not having a plan B, because, like I say, I don't watch enough of Arsenal to have an opinion on that. But that's been a constant with all these managers that we've chopped and changed. Specifically Martinez, he was, I'm doing it this way and I want to do it this way and I'm conceding goals left, right and centre, but I'm doing it this way. And then, we got, we'll skip over though because they're not really relevant, but Marco Silva, much the same. I'm doing it this way and I want to play it this. Doesn't matter if it's going wrong. But when it goes wrong, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
With Lampard, and yesterday was a prime example of it. It's almost a reverse. Sorry, he hasn't got a plan A, or his plan A is a bit ropey, but he can't half fix it, and he does fix it, and he's done that a couple of times, in his stint. So there is you can definitely see a manager. Well, I can definitely see a manager in Lampard because he's managing my club, and I'm watching him, every game. And that's what I'm sort of saying. Probably not very well. When I have watched Arsenal, I'm looking at it and I'm going, not really sure what you're trying to do here, Arteta.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we feel. We're watching it every week. Tony's in the chat there. Tony Preston, he says, tell Paul he's jealous of Arteta's success with Arsenal. And
he's one of my oldest friends. I told you I was surrounded by Gooners. He would have been one of the ones that I would have enjoyed giving the 6-1 to.
He's quite a big fan of Arteta. He said he's sorting out an old mess and cutting out the rot. He's cutting his, will be fine. He's got this. Well, I hope you're right. I really do. I'm just not convinced at this point, after nearly 2.5 years, nearly 3 years in the job. I'm not convinced that he is going to be fine, unfortunately, because by now I would have hoped to have seen more improvements than what I have done. We've lost 13 games in the league this season. We've won to play. We lost 13 last season. We've conceded more goals this season. We've got a +9 goal difference. A +9, that's unheard of in Arsenal. And +9 after 37 games. That's, last season we had a much better goal difference. We're not scoring. There's so many issues. And yes, we could still sneak in the Champions League on Sunday and then all will be given to a certain degree. It won't, but ultimately we've got what we need from a financial perspective. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm just not convinced by him And if he proves me wrong, I'll love it, because it means that we've been successful. I'm just not convinced yet. I haven't seen anything in 2.5 years to convince me he's the man that I can get behind and really back to take us to that next level, which for me is challenging Man City and Liverpool, getting to that point at some point in the future. That's what I want Arsenal to be doing. And I don't think he's the right man to do that. He might be able to lay the foundations for a proper manager, if you like, to come in and take us to that level maybe in a couple of years' time. And if he does that, then that's great. But I don't know. At the minute, I'm not convinced. He's got a lot more work to do for me. I think at the club he's got to start doing better. He's got to start producing more consistently. We can't lose 13 games again next season, regardless of where we finish in the league, because that's too many defeats, isn't it? We've got to draw some of them games. We've drawn 3 this season. If we'd drawn 10, we'd be third, and that's great. Our hands are brilliant. You know what I mean? We've lost 7-8 games. We finished in the top 4. What a job he's done. But the fact is, we finished 5th, losing the same amount of games that we did last year, finishing 8th. I don't see that as, yes, we've improved in positional sense and we're back in Europe, but have we really improved overall? The money that we spent on the defence in particular, conceded more goals. It's just, I don't know. There's so many things that I'm not getting my head around yet. And maybe I'm still really, really, really upset about Monday night's game against Newcastle, because we were dreadful in the game and I don't think I'm over that yet. And that's kind of the culmination of the last couple of years really for me. Stephen says that
been doing this interview the day before the game last night, then I'd have been much the same after the
I'm sure you would,
away against Brentford. But
it does that to you, doesn't it? I know it does that to you. Stephen says, I don't think Arteta has an easy job at working under the Kroenkes. No, he definitely doesn't. I 100% agree with that. It'll be like working with one hand tied behind his back. Yeah, it will to a certain degree. I agree with that. But as I said, the results on the pitch ultimately fall on the manager. The performances on the pitch fall on the manager, and whether he's got an easy job or not, whether he's getting the money he wants, whether he's been able to buy the quality of players he wants, yes, that's an issue. But ultimately, it's on the pitch where he's gonna fail or succeed, isn't it? Regardless of all of that. And that's all managers are the same, aren't they? You get your managers lose their job if you lose too many games, you get sacked. That's unfortunately football, isn't it? Managers don't get time these days. I mean, you'll know, you're an Everton fan, how many managers you got through in the last 6-7 years. You know what I mean? And some people would say, do Arsenal want to go down that route, change manager all the time? Well, no, because ideally you get the right man in the first place, and they have success at the club, like we did with Wenger, we did with George Graham, and that's great. You did obviously previously with Howard Kendall and whatever. If you get the right man in place, you don't need to keep changing it. It's when you make the wrong choices, that's when you have to keep changing it, or stick with a bad choice and hope for the best.
So Richard, just talking about what we've spoken about before about getting things right and looking back in history and all of that. Seeing a bit of a parallel now that you've had the Wenger years, and then you're looking backwards and not getting it right going forwards. It's just exactly the same. And we tried to go back to Kendall and Mark 1 and Mark 2 and Mark 3 as well. It just was never going to happen.
I don't think you should do that. No, I don't. No. I wouldn't. I know Wenger probably wouldn't come back at his age now anyway, and I wouldn't really want to do that. But it's difficult.
Who would you have at Arsenal?
Right now?
Right now.
See, this is where it becomes. It does become more tricky, because I believe we're Arsenal and we should be able to attract any manager at all anywhere. I'd say apart from Pep and Klopp, who are pretty well pushed, they're not going to leave their 2 clubs, are they? Let's be honest. I think pretty much anybody else, if we really wanted them that badly, we should have gone for Tuchel when he was available before he went to Chelsea. We should have gone for him, because he's a top quality manager. Conte, top quality manager. You got managers like Mancini, who obviously won the Euros with Italy. I think he's available, or he's not working anywhere. There's a lot of managers out there. Personally, for me, and maybe it's more of a sentimental thing, I would love Patrick Vieira to be our manager. I think he's done a great job at Crystal Palace. I know last night they threw that game away, but it's circumstances that you have to take into account. But I think he's done a great job at Palace. Got to semi-final of the FA Cup. He looks like he's a manager that isn't going to. The way Crystal Palace play, from what I've seen of them this season, I've watched them quite a lot for that reason. They're a team that aren't just going to roll over. They play in Patrick Vieira's style. They absolutely battered us all over the pitch a few 6-7 weeks ago, and they beat us 3-0. They absolutely battered us everywhere. And I've seen them do that to other teams as well. They did it to Tottenham earlier in the season, and they've got 4 points off Man City. I think that what he's doing at Crystal, if he's given time and money at Crystal Palace, I'm not saying at the level he'll ever win a trophy with Crystal Palace, but I think he could get him into Europe if he's there long enough with backing from the ball, because I think he's a manager that ain't going to take no nonsense, is he? He manages like he played, and I'd love that at Arsenal. Just today, I think there's too many players at Arsenal that we saw in the last 2 games. They've got no fighting whatsoever. They've got They haven't got that mentality to win, or like whatever, even what Everton did last night. If that was Arsenal, if we were 2-0, well, we've shown it. We were 2-0 down against Newcastle. We were 2-0 down against Tottenham, and we just died. We were 2-0 down against Crystal Palace. We died. But if we were in a position like that at home, we're 2-0 down in a game we have to win. I can't see Arsenal having that much fight that Everton showed last night with the players that we've got under our manager. I just can't see it. Frank Lampard, someone put in the chat earlier, I can't find it now, but they said Frank Lampard's a winner. He was a winner as a player. All those trophies that he won, what a great player he was, right? And he was a winner. And he's got that in as a manager. And I think that Patrick Vieira was a winner as a player. He didn't accept losing. And I don't think he accepts losing as a manager. And I think at a bigger club with good resources behind him, I think he could be a real success. Is he maybe a little bit early to come to Arsenal now? Yes, I think he probably is. But in the future, that's my dream. Right now, he's just signed a new contract, so he's not going anywhere. So I'm not thinking about who we can get. I personally think if we're Arsenal, if we approach a manager, whoever it was in the world, apart from maybe Klopp and Pep, now we could probably get anyone. If we said to them, "We want you to be our manager, we'll pay you whatever it is that they need, and we'll give you this money to spend," anyone would come to Arsenal. But we're not. Arsenal, I don't think Arsenal was set up, the way the club's been run isn't set up to be successful on the pitch. They're looking at saving money. And I think all the COVID thing, having no fans for a year and all the money we lost, I think that this is the reason why we got rid of Aubameyang, we got rid of Ozil, to save money on wages. And this is why we're buying cheap young players that don't need big contracts because they're young players. And we're going to do the same this summer. Everyone's going, Arsenal going to spend big this summer. No, we're not. We're going to buy another load of... We just bought a teenager from Brazil. Do you know what I mean? And this is going to be our transfer... for the summer now. I can see it happening. It's going to be like that, and that isn't Arteta's fault, and he's going to have to work with what he's got, and that's not going to help him. So we need a manager who can adapt. He's not very adaptable, Arteta, I don't think, but
yeah.
But if I could choose anybody right now, I would probably go with Patrick Vieira. One, because I just love the guy, and two, because you don't mess with him. You saw last night when the fans were on the pitch.
Yeah,
you don't mess with him, do you? Do you know what I mean? And the players don't mess with him. You won't get away with not. The performance that we gave at Newcastle the other night. I don't know if you watched that game, but we were terrible, and we showed no heart and no fight. And that's the one thing Patrick Vieira would instill. Heart. You wouldn't be allowed to get away with not showing that. And to me, as a fan, you know yourself, that's the one thing that you want to see. Anything else, I can forgive losing. I wouldn't have minded if we lost to Newcastle or Tottenham necessarily, if we'd gone out there and showed fight and given everything to try and win. And if you lose, you lose, because you lose, everyone loses games. But if you fight and you can see that the players are giving everything that they've got for the team, for the cause, like Everton did last night, and then you got the result. That's what I want to see from Arsenal. And I've never seen that under Arteta, ever. We've only come from behind once this season to win a game, once, in 37 games in the Premier League. And I think we did twice last season.
So last night, it's something that I was told by another fan. So I've not checked it, but last night was the first time in 75 games that Everton have come from being 2-0 down to win a game. So last night was an absolute anomaly as far as we're concerned. But, like I said before, he got it wrong in the first half. He recognised what he'd done and he fixed it and got it right. Because we did overpower them footballally. We overpowered Palace in the second half.
Yeah,
it was helped with the fans. I said that before. But it goes back to what I said about Frank Lampard's got it wrong in the first half a few times, fixed it at half time, and
that's the thing.
They got a result.
But that's exactly the point. I mean, Arteta's got it wrong in the first half a lot of times and hasn't fixed it. And in the second half, we've been just as bad, and we haven't come back and done what Everton have done. And like you said, you've done that a few times. And you can see that if he was doing that, even if you're losing games, you could say, well, look, at least you can see he's trying stuff. It's working. He can change things. With Arteta, he's not been able to do that. I've never seen, when we've had a poor first half, we'll have a poor second half because he can't change it. And if we have a good first half, we'll normally have a poor second half as well because he just thinks, oh, okay, we're just going to do the same again. But that's not how football works because the other team play better. So as much as I don't like Frank Lampard, I never liked him as a player because he played for Chelsea probably. And I've never liked him. I've never personally liked him. But what I've seen, what he's done at Everton, and maybe I didn't notice it so much when he was manager of Chelsea, but you can see he can change things. And the team change the way that they play. And that to me is a sign that the players are responding to the manager. Yes. And to me, that's what you want to see. And I've never seen that with Arteta. You don't see the players responding to him. You know, he doesn't seem to be able to change things. He didn't change things. He made a load of subs the other night. He didn't change anything. He just made loads of subs. And in fact, he made things worse because he didn't have a plan. And that's what I just want to see these things happening, you know. And even it's not about winning and losing games necessarily, as Stephen puts in the chat there. It's not about losing; it's the manner of the way we lost. Exactly, that's what it's about. You know, I don't mind losing games so much. Yeah, you don't want to lose games, but if you've lost a game, you go down fighting, if you like. That's fine. It's when you go down with a whimper, as we've done not just this week, but for the last 2.5 years in particular under Arteta, we've done that too many times. You know, we're losing 1-0. And what do you want to see in the last 10 minutes of a game? You're losing 1-0. You want to see the ball thrown into the box. You want to see bodies in there. You want to see people going for it. And if you lose 2-0, you lose 2-0. But at least you've tried to win it. We've lost so many games 1-0 for that very reason, that we haven't taken any risks in the last 10 minutes to try and get the equaliser.
So it's the same for us with the possession-based football and the side to side and the side to side and the back and the side to side. No, you're losing 1-0. It goes back to what I was saying. You know, do play to the strengths of the players, of the tools that are in the box, and you know that's what he did do. I mean, because the performances, especially under Benitez, were diabolical at times, dull, boring. You know, we were being spoon-fed by the media about this tactical genius who was going to do all these wonderful things, maybe not spectacularly. He was crap. Ignore the Liverpool thing as well. Ignore the Liverpool thing. Yeah, that's just the cherry on the poop cake. You know,
it doesn't work though, does it? How many times has a manager who's managed at the club's rivals gone to their rivals and done well? George Graham was manager of Tottenham, and he did win him a trophy actually, but he got hounded out by the fans as well, and it never works. I don't think it can ever work. I don't think it's possible to work.
I agree. I agree completely. What Mad Mashiri was thinking, I've got no idea at all.
Yeah, but you know, it's what happens the way it is. Tony says there the game's evolved so much. Arsenal don't sling in those tackles anymore like this. No, they don't. But they need to, or they certainly need to do that more.
So was Tony? Were you here when we were talking about Martin Keown? I think I seem to remember a few ding dongs against Man United specifically, which I know your mum would have enjoyed.
Yeah, no, there was a few good games that Martin Keown had actually. And Tony says the game's changed, and he's trying to find a way to make it work as a footballing team. I mean, the game has changed, and what you got to remember is he worked under Pep at Man City for 5 years before he came to Arsenal as manager, and Pep's got his way of playing, and Pep can get away with it because he can go out and buy players that he wants, whoever he wants in the world. He can go and buy. He gets through centre halves like no one's business because he buys one, it doesn't work, I'll just go and buy another one. And what Arteta's doing, he almost thinks he can do the same. I think he's going, oh well, I'll buy a new defence like he did last summer. It's not working, so I'll replace it again. Yeah, but by doing that, what it means is you can't replace the rest of the team that he's replacing, and that's why we can't score goals, and that's why we're weak in midfield, and that's why we've got kids on the bench that are never going to come on. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think if anyone understands a modern game, it's Arteta because of the work he's done under Pep. And if he can't make it work, then what chance have we got? We need something else. We need something different. We need someone who can come in and I don't know, find that balance somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. At this moment, I just don't think it's not working in the way it should be working after this amount of time. Yeah, everyone seems to think Arteta's been Arsenal manager for 6 months. You know, I've seen managers come in and make more of an impact in 6 months. Frank Lampard's made more of an impact at Everton in 4 or 5 months than Arteta's made in 2.5 years. What the impact he's made?
Yeah, of course he has.
2.5 years. Yeah, I mean, Everton have had about 10 managers since then.
Yeah, that's what I have to judge it on. How many managers, right? Yeah, because COVID skewed it. I can't remember seasons. Yeah, and of course, we have to erase one season because a certain club won it. It's that asterisk season, isn't it? So,
well, it doesn't count. That league title doesn't count anyway.
Exactly, it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. So they haven't won the league in 32 years. Liverpool. Yeah, you're not going to win it for another 32 years either. But anyway, I'm sure that will make you happy, won't it? If they don't win it on Sunday, I'm sure.
Well, that's the thing, wasn't it? You know,
Tony says City and Arsenal hardly tackle anyone. Well, no, City don't have to, though, do they? Let's be honest. They can just keep the ball. Arsenal don't keep the ball. So Arsenal, when they lose the ball, we have to tackle, or we've got no chance. And we have to tackle because we don't keep the ball ever. So yeah, but as Tony says, it's part of modern football. It is, and unfortunately, Liverpool tackle though, don't they? You know what I mean? Liverpool win the ball back high up the pitch. That's how they play. I don't
Yeah.
know. But anyway.
He's right, though. It's the modern football. I don't like it that much.
No, I must admit, I don't really. I've got to be honest. Stephen says our back line fully fit. I've only played together 10 times this season. That's shocking. We get 2 players injured. They come back, then 3 go out injured. Our squad has been far too. That's the problem, isn't it? The squad's too thin. Yeah, everyone gets injuries, but we've left ourselves in January without enough cover. Stephen said when Keown was involved with coaching with Wenger, he got to the Champions League final, never conceded a goal in at least 6 games. I think it was 10 games in the Champions League we didn't concede a goal for. But yeah, you see that this is what Arteta's got his own group of coaches that he maybe worked with previously and stuff like that. And he doesn't. What he needs, I think, is to get some people on the coaching staff that understand Arsenal, ex-players, for example, people like that. I think that's what he needs to do, rather than his own little group that just say yes, Mikel, even though you're wrong, Mikel, we're going to say yes to you anyway. Get people in who want Arsenal to win and want Arsenal to be successful. Say to Mikel, no, this is wrong. Do this instead. Just try this, and that's what we need: more stronger characters. And he doesn't like strong characters because he got rid of Aubameyang, who's a strong character. He got rid of Özil, who was a strong character. He can't deal with that. He needs people. He needs yes men around him. He's got a team of yes men now, and they're saying yes to the opposition. Yes, you can beat us, Newcastle. Yes, you can beat us, Tottenham, because we're not good enough. So we'll just let you beat us. But this is why we need a change of mentality. And Arteta's not the right man to do that because he hasn't got that mentality. He didn't have it as a player. What did he win as a player? That's no disrespect to Everton. I know he spent most of his career at Everton. Apart from at Rangers, he won a couple of things. He hasn't really won a lot, has he? He's not been a winner as a player. Patrick Vieira, on the other hand, get your medals out. Show us what you've won. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying about the getting Arsenal thing. It's kind of a bit of a bugbear I've had over the last few years about the fans, and it goes back to what I was saying about the Everton fans getting on the backs of players and managers. Because they don't get the Everton thing, and it's kind of like sometimes that don't work and it's broken, and we've got the opposite of that going on now. I think I touched on it and I said he got onside and he got the fans and what they wanted, and he got under the skin of what they think Everton is, and that had been missing for us, but he's got that. And maybe that's, but what he has done is the opposite. He's not really surrounding himself with Everton people. He's got his own team. And yes, Ferguson's still there. A couple of the other coaches are still there. But he's effectively replacing with a band of people who I don't know, most of them. Some of them have come out of Chelsea and whatnot. Maybe that is what you need. You need a Keown to come in there and go, right, these are the values of this football club. I don't know. But if he doesn't like the strong characters, it strikes me as well. All of these younger managers, they do know modern football. They are all winners in the ones that we spoke with Vieira and with Lampard. They're more in touch with the younger players, which is what I sort of said that I did like about Lampard right at the very start of it. He talks to them and they listen. I mean, our best player probably throughout this run, Pickford aside, outfield player, Anthony Gordon. Whereas under Benitez, I'm probably looking at Gordon going, yeah, he's all right. He's an impact player off the bench. He's young. He's still learning. Maybe we need to farm him out on loan. But when, he's coming, Lampard's coming, and he's shaped him as well. So, yeah, there's something there for these younger players in modern football and getting it better than us Warhorse fans.
Yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, I guess it is what it is, and we're stuck with modern football now, aren't we? I'm afraid. So we're just gonna have to lump it. And you do still get those great moments. Obviously, you had some great moments last night, and there are still some great moments to be had as a football fan, even now. I suppose just it isn't the same. I don't think overall, but what can you do? It is what it is, and we just have to try and enjoy it the best that we can because we've got no choice. I would change a lot of things about football if I could, but we can't. So we just have to get on with it, don't we? And just suffer it. And ultimately, we'll still be here. We'll still be watching it. We still love our club and we'll still follow them about. But unfortunately, everyone who runs the game knows that as well. They can get away with what they like because they know that we'll keep coming back. The clubs keep bringing out these new kits every year. And they know the fans are going to buy them. Regardless of how terrible the football is, the new shirts. Like Arsenal released a new shirt today or yesterday, just after those last two games. It's like, hang on a minute, You're having a laugh with us here. You're releasing
At least your club gets them out early. Ours will get them out maybe if we're lucky before the first game of the season.
Yeah, but I would rather they were actually releasing the signing of some great new players rather than a load of new kits. Personally,
Yes, I
but
get that as well.
anyway, I suppose you. I mean, I don't know why you can't keep a kit for 2 or 3 seasons like we used to, but there's no money in that, is it? That's the problem.
No.
That's where we are with football, I'm afraid. Stevenson, I don't know why we don't have more of our club legends involved with the club. They have loads of them. They do. I mean, Ian Wright. What could Ian Wright bring? If you put Ian Wright in the changing room before a game, you know what I mean? What would he bring that they currently aren't getting? Like loads of stuff. You know, Martin Keown we've mentioned before. There's loads of them. Tony Adams. They don't necessarily be involved in the coaching side if you don't want them to be, but get them in the changing room. Get players up against a wall and say, do you know what this means? Arsenal, to play for Arsenal. Don't go out there and mess about like you did against Newcastle. You know, sometimes they need to understand that. I think modern footballers they're too pampered, aren't they? They don't understand what it's like. I don't think they do.
100% they are. They are very much removed from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's going back to us. It's that interesting thing where we have been on their backs, you know, every little thing, every sideways pass. You know, Everton have got this famous thing where a player will get the ball, receive the ball with his back to the opposition goal, and the crowd will shout 10, you know. And it was getting to be a bit of we were a parody of ourselves in that sense. And with what's happened, and again, the Lampard factor, I suppose, is the fans have suddenly gone, hang on a minute, if Ben Foster's saying all we have to do at Everton is keep them quiet for 10 minutes, and we know that their crowd's going to get on their back, and everybody knows that about Everton. So the fans have gone, if they all know that and we're doing it, we're going to change it. So they did change it, and Lampard latched onto it, and the players bought into it, and he's galvanised it. You know, he's as we've seen, we're 16th, for Christ's sake. Struggling to win games still, but you know he's got us, like you said, to the promised land of next season. He's galvanised the club in what was broken. Was it broken before Benitez got there? Maybe a little bit, but Ancelotti, you know, just by who he was, demanded certain things. You know, there isn't an Everton. Well, there is now, but at the time he was in charge, there was not an Everton fan who'd say a bad word against him. Even though sometimes you'd look at what he was putting out on the pitch and go, "Why are you doing that?" But he's broken what's been fixed, and as you've rightly said, he's only been there 3-4 months. So yeah, maybe I'm being a bit. I'm still doing the older Evertonian thing, and maybe you're not. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next season under Lampard, but I've got that thing at the back of that financial fair play thing at the back of my brain that we've spent so much money on, so much crap. We've got players that are going out the door this summer, as I sort of alluded to. We've got players who are out of contract next year. And I'm looking at the squad going, well, who would I keep? I know who I would keep if it were me in charge of it all. And I don't have to sell. You know, the financial fair play thing goes away, which is an absolute joke, by the way. Why do we have to abide to that? I get it to a certain extent, but you know, we've Mashiri's got these millions, or he did have these millions. Whether they've disappeared into the Ukraine now, that's a separate thing. But you know, probably. Why should we be hamstrung by the fact that we don't have 10 million people supporting our club out in the Far East or in America or wherever it is? It's nuts, absolute nuts. But I do get it. It's designed to sort of try to keep a level playing field. Unfortunately, it's there really to protect what was the G14. That's another rant over and done with.
No, yeah, I 100% agree with you. Financial fair play isn't about making it an even playing field. It's about keeping the top clubs at the top and not allowing the other clubs to catch them up. That's what it's about, 100%. And that's what
I think that's what I with the same similar era. That's what I used to always enjoy. I mean, Everton won the title in '85, and they came from the season before finishing 7th. You know, and that season it was Liverpool, Everton, West Ham, Tottenham. They were all going for it. You know, West Ham came from nowhere. You had Ipswich battling for titles back then. You know, that surprise. Take Leicester out of the equation. We've not had a surprise team really challenging for the title for donkey. Well, since the formation of the Premier League. Okay, Blackburn, but they at that point in time, come on, let's be honest.
Well, yeah,
They
they
bought
were
the title, didn't they?
Yeah, of course they did. Of course they did. They were the 1990s Man City, weren't they? Let's be honest, for 3 or 4 years. That's what they were.
And don't get me wrong, I know that every club that's been successful has always had the buying power. You know, we were the Mersey millionaires for that period in the 60s we spoke about. And then we got it so wrong in the 70s. We broke the transfer record and signed Gary Lineker. It did us no good. We did the double that no one wants and finished runners up in both.
We've done that before. Don't worry.
So the teams at the top always spend the money. I get that, but punishing people for trying to play catch up, and Jesus Christ, people go on about Everton has spent 560 million quid in the last 5 years or whatever it is, 4 years. Put it together for the previous 20 years, we've probably not spent 100 million. It's madness.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Stephen says there, the big clubs always find loopholes to get around FFP because FFP isn't about stopping the big clubs, so they don't need to find loopholes.
Get another
loopholes are there for that reason.
Somewhere. Yeah,
that's what they're there for. They're there for that reason. You know, it's madness really. But anyway, I suppose if Arsenal were doing stuff like that and winning the league on the back of it, would I complain? Probably not.
Of course you wouldn't.
Would I deep down be happy about it? Probably not, but I'll take it. Of course I would. We all would, wouldn't we? Let's be honest. You know, to see your club win loads of trophies, you wouldn't really care. But yeah, I would like to see it change. I'd like to see caps put on what clubs can spend on transfers, what players can get in wages, all that kind of stuff. I'd love to see that happen. It never will.
No, of course.
That would be a real level playing field, and then we would get back to the days when maybe a club like Ipswich or whoever it might be, Nottingham Forest coming up and winning the league or changing for the league. You know, we may well see that again. And as a football fan, I quite like that. Even though technically we're one of the big clubs, if you like, you know, and we are. I'd quite like to see the smaller clubs having success. Sometimes, not all the time, because it would annoy me a little bit. But I'd like to. I quite enjoyed Leicester winning the league to a certain degree because it was something a bit different.
I think everyone did.
We came second that year, so it's frustrating for me because I didn't want them to win it because I wanted us to win it. But looking back,
that was the mind the gap. Was that the mind the gap season? Or there've been so many mind the gap seasons, but yeah.
Yeah, it was one of them. It was one of them. And funny enough, that was on the last day. And I know it's a different circumstance now because Tottenham had already qualified for the Champions League, as we had, on the last day. And they'd just blown the title by losing to Chelsea and letting Leicester win the league a couple of weeks ago. So they were on a downer. On the last day of the season, we went into it. They were second. We were third. They played Newcastle, who were already relegated. And Newcastle had a player sent off. Tottenham lost 5-1. We beat Aston Villa and came second. Now, people are saying, it happened and it could happen again. Yeah, but the difference was then Tottenham didn't need a result for any reason other than finishing above us. They were down in the dumps because they'd lost the league. And they was already in the top four. They didn't really care. And yes, they lost 5-1. It was hilarious and we loved it because we jumped above them and finished second. Not that it made any difference. Second or third for me is irrelevant.
I think the real thing that goes again, ignore the fact that they're playing an already relegated Norwich City. The real thing that's going against you is that Son's going for the golden boot, and he's going to really want it.
Of course he is. They'll be setting him up for goals, won't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Other than Everton, I'm pretty sure everyone's marched into Carrow Road and taken what the hell they want this season. To be fair, so.
Even we won 5-0 there, so when we're expecting them to do us a favour and beat Spurs, I mean, I don't think that's very likely, is it? But anyway, we'll see. I mean, it's actually been been fantastic having you on. Actually, some great stuff you were telling us there. Some great stories as well and stuff like that. Really, really good. Before we finish, I just need to get a score prediction for you from Sunday. I know it doesn't matter for you anymore. You probably don't care either way. But what's your score prediction? What do you think it will be?
5-0 Everton, no. I'm going to have a scoring, but I can't see a win. 1-1. One apiece. And I wouldn't have said a draw before this. I would have said a defeat. But you've kind of taught me into it that you've got all these walking wounded. You're on this downer run. I'm gonna try and remain positive after last night, and instead of it being they're gonna go upwards and carry the lift, and maybe Calvert-Lewin will want to prove his point against his next potential employers.
Well, the summer will decide what's going to happen there. It could be indeed, but I mean. Put it this way: if Arteta is able to lift this team from Monday night and from the previous game against Tottenham. If he can lift them to put in a performance on Sunday, I'll actually almost forgive him for what he's done before, because to me it'll be a massive achievement to do that. Whether Arsenal end up winning the game or not is almost secondary now, because the chances of us coming fourth now anyway is almost zero. But if he gets the players up for the game and we actually play well, having suffered what we suffered in the last two games with players that are injured and Curry and Knox and this, that and the other, then he would have to have credit, because of that game at Newcastle was just, everybody was on the floor. You could see some of the interviews afterwards with the players. You know, to lift the team from that point in less than a week to perform one more time is a hell of a job. And if he does it, then fair play to him. I'm not sure if we will. And I think that if news comes through that Tottenham have gone 2 or 3-0 up early on in that game, then everyone's going to go down. The crowd will be down. And the players will probably be down, because you get the players will know what's going on. The fans will let them know. You know what I mean? Everyone will know. And I think that unless there's news comes through that Norwich have scored, everyone gets a lift, and then you never know. And I think it may be one of them games where the news from the other game might actually influence what happens in this game.
On this one, that's possible. Like I said to you, I don't know what Everton's going to turn up. I really don't. I'm only saying it because I'm feeding off of the kind of the what you've told me, and the lads in the chat have said, and I'm going to play which is totally against my personality, by the way. I'm going to play the positive card of they're going to go on an upward spiral and they keep it going from last night, rather than going, we've done it. Oh God. But so one apiece is what I'll say.
Okay, Graham has gone 3-1 to Arsenal, so that's the complete opposite of positive as far as that's concerned. Tony's thinks that we'll get 6 or 7 against Everton. So there you go.
I'd have gone 6 or 7, Tone, before as well.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if we will. We've not scored that against anyone. Stephen says, I'll stick my neck out and go with the people in the chat. 3-1 Arsenal. Come on, Arsenal. I mean, we have to win, so I'm going to predict that we will win. Even though I'm not 100% convinced that we will, but we have to win. So I'm going to have to go that we win. I think it's going to be a difficult game because of what we've been through. Yes, I think a lot of it's going to come down to also how Everton approach the game. Having what happened last night, you don't have it's quite a quick turnaround, isn't it? Because you've got to travel out of London, not much time. You won't have any training. It's just a matter of recovering, travelling and playing. And that might play into our hands as well. But I think that the whole emotion of the day, if Tottenham are losing, may make a difference. I think we'll maybe sneak it, but I think it's going to be tight. I think we might win 2-1, but I don't think it'll be an easy game. I think Everton will be relaxed, which sometimes, when you're playing about pressure, you find an extra 5% of energy from somewhere, don't you? Because the pressure's gone and you're playing with freedom.
And that's the other thing we spoke about. And that's maybe there's a part of me thinks he's probably just going to throw the kids in anyway, and that'll be that. And you go back to the conversation we had, you'll get your 16 goal sprint or whatever it is that you need. But
that's if Tottenham draw, isn't it? If Tottenham draw, we have to claw back the goals. If Tottenham lose, we just have to win. And if Tottenham win, obviously, then there's nothing we can do. Stephen says there in the chat, I can see Spurs losing and Arsenal lose. That would be a proper kicking. To be honest with you, that's I think all Arsenal have got to do, realistically, is not worry about the Tottenham game. Just go and win our game, because that's what we've got to win, basically. So let's go out and win. And then if that other game's gone in our favour, it's gone in our favour. But if we don't win our game, then the other game won't matter anyway. So we just need to do our job. That's it. Simple as that. And if we win, we've got a chance, tiny chance as it might be, and you never know. Things happen in football.
You're saying all of that. These are exactly the same words I was saying about we just have to beat Watford. We just have to beat Brentford. And we did beat Palace, but at half time, as we discussed, I was not thinking that was going to be the case.
It just goes to show, doesn't it? It goes to show that last night's game, in a way, anything can happen in football. And Norwich could beat Tottenham, because Norwich, 11 players against 11 players, anything can happen. Norwich have got some good players. Pookie, for example, can score goals in the Premier League. He could pop up with a goal or two. Who knows? And, there could be a penalty. There could be a sending off. Loads of things can happen. So Arsenal just got to forget
VAR might actually start doing the level playing field thing it's supposed to do. And
it might do. It might well do. And, Norwich have probably owed a few decisions over this course of this season. So maybe they'll get them all on Sunday, and they'll get 4 penalties, and that's that. But ultimately, we can't think about what might happen in that game. We just have to win our game first, because if we don't win our game, it doesn't matter what happens here. You know, Tottenham could lose 10-0. If we don't win against you guys on Sunday, it doesn't matter. So we just got to do our job, and that's it. And if we do our job, then we've done all we can do. And if it's enough, it's enough. Brilliant. We can go mad and celebrate. We've done it. If it isn't enough, then at least we can say, well, we did all we could do on the last game. Yes, we messed it up in the previous two, but at least we did what we could do on the day, and it wasn't enough. And that's
I should have perhaps been paying more attention to Arsenal's fixture in the knowledge that I just, as I said, with the record we've got there, all I wanted was to not be coming into Sunday needing to do anything other than turn up, because I know Everton. And that underlining the record we've got at the Emirates, Highbury, wherever you played before then, no doubt. But it's awful.
Probably, yeah. No, I mean, I was in mixed feelings, actually, whether or not I wanted Everton to need a result against us or not, because I'm not sure what difference that would have made. Obviously, massive pressure on it. It would have been massive. If you had lost last night, it would have been massive pressure on you on Sunday to get a result, wouldn't it? You would have needed a result. And that could have played into our hands, because at some point you're going to have to throw players forward, take a risk, and it might have opened things up for us. But now, because you've got no pressure and we've got the pressure on us, then suddenly we're at a disadvantage in a way, because we've got the pressure of we're having to win. You don't have to win, so you can just stick 10 men behind the ball for 90 minutes. Doesn't matter, because you don't have to win the game. You can just sit back, take a 0-0 draw, go back up to Everton and be happy with the way the season.
That's it. Re-plan for next year. But like I say, it's a tough one. And any Everton fan will say that I think they put so much into it that they're probably just going to go like that, in all honesty. But yeah, who knows? I just don't know.
No,
your 3-1s are probably more closer to the mark, but 6 or 7 isn't beyond the wit of Everton's.
I would be amazed I'll be amazed if we did. I don't think we scored 6 goals in the last 10 games put together, scoring 6 in one game. Stephen says, it's been a great show, lads, and everyone in the chat has been fantastic. Yeah, there's been some great comments tonight as well. Says, look forward to the next one. So until then, catch everyone later. Yep, see you later, Stephen there. And he says, and hit the likes, guys. Yeah, if you enjoyed it, please give it a like as well. And if you are new here, there's probably 1 or 2 Everton fans maybe watching that don't usually watch. If you like what we do,
making notes, no doubt.
Just subscribe to the channel, and you can come on Sunday and laugh when you've beaten us and stopped us getting top 4. Then you can do that that'd be good. But no, I mean, it's been a great show, actually. You've been great as well, which is always good. I hope you've enjoyed being on as well, have you?
Yeah, I have. Thank you very much. And thanks, Lee Wickens. I think he was the one that brought it to light. So cheers, Lee.
He was, yeah, and that was great. So, yeah, so thanks for that, Lee, as well.
I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realise it was live. I'd have done my hair.
No, it's fine. I mean, you look great. I mean, you're lucky that you've got some, so don't worry about that. You know, you're ahead of me already on that side of things, so don't worry about that. But no, I mean, it's been great chatting to you. Obviously, some great memories as well from days gone by, which we all like as well. And we kind of like it on this channel anyway. I do quite a lot of retro stuff as well, which is nice. So it's good that we got some of that out as well, and that's all good. I mean, obviously we're coming to the end of the season, so there's not going to be a lot coming up on the channel for a while. I will be here on Sunday, of course, for the match, so please join me for that. And then next week we'll be doing a season review, looking back on the season as a whole, which might not be as much fun as it could have been, but anyway, it's going to have to be done. And then the next thing we'll be doing some coverage of the Women's Euros in the summer. That's going to be good. We'll be doing some match coverage. I'm going to a few games, so we'll probably have some stuff from the stadiums as well. So loads coming up over the summer, but I might have a couple of weeks off after this weekend. I think I just need to take a little breather and forget football for a couple of weeks, because it's been quite stressful recently. But it is over on Sunday, which may well be a good thing for both of us, actually, with what we suffered. You probably more than me, if we were totally honest. But anyway. So yes, obviously thanks for coming on tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And hopefully, I say good luck. Not so much good luck on Sunday, because it doesn't matter to you what happens, but certainly better luck for next season, because Everton shouldn't be fighting relegation. Let's be honest. When you've got small little teams in the Premier League, Bournemouth are coming back next year, stuff like that. Everton shouldn't be battling relegation. I don't want you to be fighting with us for the top 4, but certainly have a better season next year.
But as Brentford have proven that don't matter about the size, it's about how hard you punch, and they've done all right. But Bournemouth are another cracky, per many one from however many Premier League teams, another bogey team of Everton's, Bournemouth.
Are they?
Yeah, we were under Martinez. I can distinctly remember a game. I think we were 2 apiece, went 3-2 up in the 90th minute. They equalised. I think it went 4. I can't remember whether I might be over-egging it there. Anyway, it finished up 4-4 or 3-3 in the final knockings of the plus time. Yeah, so another bogey side of ours.
We had a game against Bournemouth actually where we were 3-0 down at their place, and they had a player sent off, and we came back and drew 3-3. That was quite good, but we should have won actually.
I think I might remember that one actually.
Yeah. We drew 3-0 from 3-0 down, which, you know, it's nice to come back from 3-0 down. It doesn't happen very often, so that was kind of good in a way. But at the time, I think we were trying to sort of challenge for the league. It might have been that season Leicester won it actually. It might have been that season.
Right, yeah.
And we needed to win, obviously, and we got it back to 3-0. And there was still about 5 minutes to go. And you think we can win this game, and then they we've got a draw now. We've done enough, and we should have pushed on and won it. But anyway, that was a good game, to be fair. But yeah, I've never really liked Bournemouth. They're just a nothing club, aren't they? Really, let's be honest. You know.
Yeah, I get what I 100% agree. It kind of goes against what I was saying about the anomaly teams, though. So I'm hypocritical on myself. But yeah, I do agree.
I mean,
at the expense of Everton, though, yeah, definitely. No marks, get down.
Well, no, but I mean, they've not got a history in football that maybe clubs like Nottingham Forest or Ipswich or these sort of clubs now which are struggling. You know, you could quite like them because they almost deserve it because they've got a history. Bournemouth, you know, they're just a nothing little club. Yes, they've done well, and if they get in the Premier League next year, I'm sure they'll do well. But for me, they're not a traditional traditional English club.
Football royalty, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all this stuff is it's only 4 teams that matter really in English football. Let's be honest. Is there anybody else that's done that? And that doesn't include City and Chelsea, by the way, because they're nowhere near the level. You know, I would actually put Everton in the top 4 clubs in English football history. Personally, Arsenal, Man United. That's it.
Well, I would too, but then I've got a very bad bias. Until Wenger came along, and I put you lot behind us. Sorry to say that. Until he came along, I think we had 9 titles, and I think you at that time had the same, maybe 8. I don't know. How many have you got now?
We've got 13 now. I mean, obviously Wenger won 3, and then George Graham won. Did he win 3 as well, or 2 or 3? So yeah, there was a time when we were quite close in titles. Yeah, we won those 2 in the 80s. But I mean, I've always looked on Arsenal as being obviously a bigger club than Everton, but I don't dismiss Everton as being saying that top 4 English club historically, and you know the fact you've not been relegated for like 60 years or whatever it is
no, absolutely. But yeah, but the point I'm making is that we've been asleep since the formation of the Premier League, which is when we kind of were a part of the big 5, was it? 4 because we're dismissing 3 because I'm not including Liverpool then. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We went backwards. I don't know. We pushed for, and Philip Carter was at the forefront of it. For Christ's sake, it was him and I think Scolo, the Spurs chairman.
Yeah.
That were really the driving forces, and the other guys came on board. I think that's right, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think Arsenal.
And then Everton just hit reverse while you lot all went like that. Or Spurs, you know. I
think Arsenal were quite heavily involved. David Dean was quite heavily involved in the formation of the Premier League as well, and I think Man United probably were as well at the time, weren't they? Was it Edwards? Edwards was their chairman? Wasn't
yeah.
At that time, and I think they were pretty involved. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if the Premier League was such a good idea overall. But anyway, it is what it is, and we just have to deal with what the consequences of it are now, which is unfortunately lots and lots of money at the top and not so much money further down. But you know,
yeah, let's hope that we're not doing what we've just done. I haven't got. I didn't have grey hair before this season.
Well, I say maybe that's it now for you. Maybe you'll be fine next year. Now you've got a good young manager. Maybe that's going to take you forward. Perhaps.
We're very hopeful. That's and that for Evertonians, as I've said, that's probably about as big an endorsement as I can give him right now. He's given us hope, and we've not had it for probably since Martinez. Although. Again, no one wanted Martinez. He'd just been relegated with Wigan, had the season of our lives, and in true Everton style, I think they finished up with 74 points, which possibly would have gotten top 4 every other year bar 1, and every other team had the season of their lives. I think we were battling it out with you, and we finished 5th, didn't we?
Yeah,
unbelievable. But yeah. So apart from that, yeah, it's the first time I think we've had hope for a long time. Okay, Ancelotti, but that was more is he really at Everton kind of, we're not quite believing here. And then
I wonder
COVID
what would,
kind of
I wonder
scrubbed
what
it all.
I wonder what would have happened actually if he had gone to Arsenal at that time instead. Whether or not he would have ended up leaving for someone like Real Madrid, or would he have seen Arsenal as a something he could have helped to take forward? It'd be interesting to know what would have happened with that. Actually, I would have been really interested to know because I really
he got James Rodriguez to come to Everton, and I know he's a player, going back to that analogy that I had, is probably cresting the pyramid of his talent, but he was still a fantastic footballer for us. And he got Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a player I've always liked since he joined, and I can see one hell of a footballer in there, and he brought it out of him. Stop doing the other stuff and just put the ball in the back of the net. We'll do the hard work for you. What he could do was just make average players above average and make good players very good players. So imagine if you had world beaters, of which we don't have at Everton. He'd keep them there. So he'd probably be. You wouldn't be talking about scraping in the Champions League. You'd be talking about really properly challenging.
That's what I think.
Liverpool and
that's
City.
what I think. But we'll never know now because it never happened. So it probably never will now either. So I think that ship sailed, unfortunately. But it is what it is. We just have to crack on and hope that Arteta can turn things in the right direction going forward, and we can get top 4 next season if we don't make it on Sunday, and hope for the best. And that's at the minute that's all it is for me, hoping for the best rather than expecting the best or anticipating that's what's going to happen. It's like if it happens, it'll be great, but I'm not necessarily hopeful that it will, but we'll see. I say things could be worse. We could be 16th, couldn't we? So let's cheer the fact that we're not.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. It's not been pleasant.
No, but like I say, the good thing for you is you've done what you had to do. You've kept your place in the Premier League, and you can look forward. And hopefully, I'm sure next year will be a lot better for you. Anyway, thanks for coming on. It's been great chatting. It's gone so quick as well. 2 hours 20 minutes we've been going, and it feels like about half an hour. So it's been a lot of fun. And it's been great. So, thanks for coming on. Thanks to all you guys for watching as well. I say, if you are new, please consider subscribing. And I'll be back on Sunday for the game, last one of the season, which will be a relief in some ways, I suppose. And then I say we'll have a couple of weeks off maybe. And then we're back for the Euros in the summer, for Women's Euros, which is going to be great. So loads coming up. Please stay tuned to the channel for all of that. I say, obviously, thanks to Rez for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Good luck for saying. Enjoy the game Sunday. Just don't enjoy it too much because otherwise it might be painful for me. But, I'm sure it'll be good anyway. The season's over and it's going to be a celebration for you guys and maybe not quite so much for us. But anyway, we'll do what we have to do and get through it. You never know. Norwich might turn up and actually produce the biggest shock of the season on the last day. How about that? That'd be good, right? But we'll see. So, thanks everyone for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And we will see you all very soon on Sunday, of course, for the game. In the meantime, of course, as always, come on, you Gunners. Let's finish in style and let's hope for the best. See you later, guys. Take it easy.